Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the finals of the Goldmoney Asian Rapid. We had a nerve-wracking semi-finals yesterday, both the games going to the tie breaks. And who would have expected Levon Aronian and Vladislav Artemiev to reach the final? I'm sure there were not many who would have predicted that. Uh, well, we did predict half of it, uh, but that was a lot. That was a random prediction. So yeah, we are back for the finals, and the games have already kicked off. So it's going to be Levon Aronian against Vladislav Artemiev in the final, and there is also a match for the third and fourth place between Magnus Carlsen against Ding Lijian. And we have Magnus starting with the white pieces. In general, these third and fourth, the match for the third and fourth place is maybe the most. It's the most difficult thing to play for because what you really want, what you really covet, has been denied, and you're asked to settle for something you didn't want in the first place. But then, okay, sometimes we find the strength to settle for it, and sometimes we don't. So yes, this is the third and fourth place, and Aronian is here. Look, Aronian is here, and even before he makes his first move, he makes an impression with his fashion sense. I've never seen T-shirts with this design and color. And Aronian starts with the white pieces. He's likely to go London, so he starts with d4, d5, knight f3, and I'm guessing we'll see bishop f4 on the next move. So, what are your predictions for the finals, guys? Let's start out with the poll. Aronian, Artemiev, what are your predictions for the finals today? Let's start out with the poll. So, please make a poll. Is it going to be Artemiev? Is it going to be Aronian? And yeah, third is to the good place. It depends on from where you look at. If you're if you really want the first place, so imagine the first place is like a OnePlus phone. So we all want a OnePlus phone. I mean, not we all want a OnePlus phone, but a lot of people want a OnePlus phone. And there are many good phones within the price range of like something like 20,000. But if someone offers you that when you want a OnePlus, how do you feel? Would you take it? Oh, it's still a good phone, right? It's still a good phone for 20,000. It's better than a lot of other phones, but you really, really want OnePlus. So in that case, how would you feel? So that's exactly how the people who play for the third and fourth place feel. They want the first place, they want to be in the final, they want to win the tournament, and then when they lose, they are made to play for this third and fourth place. So the polls coming up, who are you rooting for in the final between Artemiev against Aronian? Okay, who are you rooting for in the final? So you can choose between Artemiev and Aronian. And the polls there in the Chess 24 India channel where the same stream is broadcasted. So feel free to go and make your voice heard, make your opinion heard. And we will also have a poll for the third and fourth place later. So yeah, there will be other people joining me for sure. Don't worry. Um, people people are fixing some issues related to internet and electricity and related things. So it they will join me any moment. But for now, you have to just contend with me. Apologies for that to disappoint you, but I hope you don't mind. Okay, so what's happening on the board here? Knight f3, bishop f5, c4, e6. It's interesting, yeah. After knight f3, what do you all go chat? In this position, if you're playing black, what is the move that you generally face? I'm not sure if a lot of you go d4, d5, but from what I noticed from teaching people who are just starting to play chess, uh, they usually go d4, d5. And now if your opponent plays knight f3, how do you start here? What is the move that you typically tend to make? Your second move after knight f3. I'll just wait for you guys to uh, choose your move while I get some coffee for myself. C5. Yes, C5 is a common move. Knight C6 is also not uncommon. But what Pranav says, knight F6. This is uh, this is the most common move. Also, what Saugata Bose says. Magnus already has an iPhone, guys. We are not going for the iPhone price range. I mean, at least for me, it has always been beyond the horizons that I can think of. OnePlus is something we all can relate to because everyone I've seen they wanted OnePlus for a really long time, and that's like the flagship at that price range. So it's a lot more relatable to the chat. Yeah, so knight f3, we all mostly go knight f6. But Artemiev decides to start with bishop f5 instead of knight f6. He delays knight f6. And what are the implications of starting with bishop f5? Now, not too much, but there are variations where black goes for an early e6, early c6, and queen b6, going into the Slav structure. And here, saving on this tempo of knight f6, it can be useful for black. So for this reason, sometimes it's useful to start with bishop f5, but this weakens this d5 point a bit. So white immediately comes c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6. And now we are in this queen's gambit decline position. But what is the difference? What is the difference between this position and the typical queen's gambit decline position here? So we usually have this position, right? Which I think has been told a million times in a million different streams that this is one of the main lines of 1d4 related systems. And here there are so many different ways to play. Bishop e7 is the main line queen's gambit. Bishop b4 is the Rogozin. D into c4 is Vienna. This has all been explained. Now, what is the difference between this position and this position? What is the difference, chat? Yes, exactly. Aditya has nailed it. Aditya Mirji, the bishop is outside of the pawn chain, and this is why bishop f5 is a good idea. Meanwhile, some person has joined the call, but I don't recognize the name. I don't know who that is. Could you please come out and introduce yourself? Hari.
Hello. Hello.
I see
I
you're a
need to change
lawyer.
my
I see you're
name.
a lawyer based on the name.
Wait, I need to change my name. I
Yes.
don't know how to change the name in Zoom. Oh, I got it. Thank you, Shri. How
Welcome,
are you,
welcome,
Shri,
welcome,
and how are
Soumya.
we doing today? Hi, chat. What's up?
Chat is a lot of mood out, Soumya. They were expecting you at the start, and then they got me instead. So they're not in a happy
Please.
mood.
Oh, please. I
They're
saw
like,
you were
Soumya,
explaining a
Soumya,
lot of
Soumya.
details about the pawn chain and the differences between Stonewall and Vienna, and a lot of openings which I could have benefited from. Uh, I'm going to go back and rewatch this stream for my increasing my knowledge about all these positions.
Yes, you're welcome to do that. Thank you. Soumya has turned into a professional streamer now, but I mean, I thought that happened last year only, right?
I'm a
Okay, so
streamer. How professional? I don't know. Like, not so professional, no? You think we are like professional streamers?
I'm certainly not, but I don't know about you.
I also
I think
don't feel
chat is
like
the
a
best judge.
professional streamer. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, me too.
Another guy says no bar, sad life. But there is a bar on the live board. This is the live board on the right side of me and the left side of you. That is the live board, guys, the small one, and there is an evaluation bar.
Yes, here we set the bar on the lower right. I wouldn't say we set the bar low, we don't do that, but we do set the bar on the lower right corner. So look at it below, next to us. And getting back to the action on the board. So white continued with bishop g5, c6. Now, many times what happens is this bishop does manage to get out of the chain. Okay, this also happens in Caro-Kann. So if you see the Caro-Kann pawn structure, you'll see that the bishop comes out. Whereas if you see the French pawn structure, the bishop stays on c8. Now, this is a big difference. But what happens is many times when the bishop comes out, this is basically like Abhimanyu in the Chakravyuha formation. It knows how to come out, but it doesn't have a means to go back. So many times it gets harassed. And Nigel Short, who's a legendary player from England, he devised a system when he played against Anatoly Karpov in their candidates match, where White specifically makes use of this bishop's placement, and this became known as the short variation in Caro-Kann defense. Here, the Slav defense is very similar to the Caro-Kann pawn structure. The pawn structure wise, they are like cousins, and you see similar ideas being exploited here as well. Meanwhile, I see Soumya asking this question in the chat: who do you think will win in the finals? And we do have a poll already out on the Chess 24 India channel. So feel free to make your voice heard and participate in the poll. I myself, I have chosen Aronian on one of my account and Artemiev on the other one.
Oh, that is
Just for
very
fun.
convenient. You are not allowed to do that, Shri. You have to make a choice. Chess is about making a decision.
Yes, Soumya, but sometimes in life we are allowed to keep our choices open, no?
Arey, but this was the point. You had to make a move. You can't pass it. You can't pass it.
I just showed that I can, even while participating in the poll. So, guys, I'm sure you also have multiple accounts. So, if you want, you can vote for one of the players. Naito, you can, pick one from your phone, pick one from your computer, and it's a draw for today. And tomorrow
I
you can
have
do the
chosen.
tiebreaker.
Let's see what chat is choosing, and I'll tell my choice after the polls are out and after chat gives their opinion.
Janta, yeah, we are like.
Janta is like Sandeep Maheshwari.
I don't know what that reference is though.
Sandeep Maheshwari is a motivational speaker. He has a lot of nice videos on YouTube, and he speaks mainly in Hindi. So maybe that's why you don't know him as much. So most of his videos are in Hindi, and chat is like, since the time he's come on Surya's stream, chat is like, Levon looks so much like Sandeep Maheshwari, which he does. He looks like a foreign version of Sandeep Maheshwari.
Okay, Levon there. But did you see the T-shirt that Levon was wearing?
No, I haven't yet. Is it a
Oh,
cat
you should.
T-shirt? Because he loves cat T-shirts.
No. It's not a cat T-shirt, but it's a very, very awesome color. Awesome as in unique. Maybe you need not go back to the stream to watch my explanations, but you should definitely do it to catch what Levon was wearing. It looks so colorful.
You think we won't get to see it for the rest of the stream, yeah? Because most of the times we only get to see his forehead.
Yes, eyes. Levon, he has the playing style of a tiger. So he only shows his eye of the tiger and uses it to scare his opponent.
Karthik Tangavel asks you, Shri, how many GMs do you expect in India in the next 5 years and in world top 10? Interesting question.
GMs in India in the next 5 years, you have to give me option. COVID-free world or COVID-filled world. Number of GMs in the top 10 in the next 5 years, I think we would be, I think one or two maximum, not more than that in the top 10. It takes time to build such things. It's built over generations. So this generation, it's well placed to have one of the players in top 10 or even one of the players for the world championship. But, top 10 is not an easy place to reach and stay in. It requires enormous talent and a lot of things going right in your life. The combination of that. What do you think, Soumya? I think you can
No, I
also.
completely agree. Actually, top 10 is simply not guaranteed. Yeah. I think no matter how hard you work, it's definitely not a guarantee, because the point is everyone else is also working very hard and deserves it as
Exactly.
much. So you can't predict these things.
Yeah, it involves a lot of things
More
going.
player other than
Are we? Am I disconnected or is Soumya disconnected? Okay, so she seems frozen in my screen, so I'm assuming that I'm online. And yeah, so these things involve a lot of things going right in your way, just like life, It's not enough to just have talent, it's not just enough to work hard, but you also need other conditions to go in your favor. That's very important to become a world champion or the top 10. It's an underestimated factor because, when someone becomes successful, we somehow assume that person is unique, different, and a lot of they're just. I also heard slogans like winners don't do different things, they do things differently. Yes, true to an extent, that they do a lot of small things correctly, but but on the other hand, it also requires a lot of other things to go your way. For example, even in this tournament, when Arjun reached the knockouts, uh, he had uh, he had a very quick draw against Wesley, so that was one thing that went in his favor. And in the 15th round against Anish, he also had a relatively safe draw. So you see, these kind of things, it always goes the way of someone who has won the tournament or who has, performed extraordinarily well. If you go back to those situations, zoom in, and start wondering, what if the opponent did something differently? What if the opponent didn't make that silly mistake? Then you would find that it wouldn't have gone their way. And there are instances, there are events when this thing precisely happens, and then you don't win the tournament. It happens in my career, it happened in Vidit's career, Magnus's. A lot of these 50-50 chances, a lot of these situations where it's this or that. When that goes your way, you have a really successful tournament, and when that doesn't go your way, you have a more average tournament. So these things also matter, and these things are not totally in our control. So yeah, it depends on those things too, which is why it's incredibly hard to make predictions about such things. Now, getting back here, bishop g5, c6, knight h4, attacking this bishop. The bishop goes to g6. This was what I was going towards. Uh, Basically, bishop g6, knight, e3, knight d7, queen b3, queen b6. And I was just explaining this about how, when the bishop comes out of the pawn chain, like in Karakan, the bishop is susceptible to be harassed by white's pieces. And this is exactly what happens. So Aronian wins the pair of bishops, but he doesn't hurry. He doesn't hurry to take knight into g6 because he can take it at his convenience. Black cannot go anywhere. So in these situations, it's probably a good idea to be flexible because you don't have to commit. So don't commit unless you absolutely need to. Another life lesson, a life code for you. H3, bishop e7, rook c1. In these pawn structures, when the pawn has been committed to c5, basically the center is closed. So you see, the pawn is on c4 here, the center is open. So black can take d into c4 or white can take c into d5. And this would lead to a different pawn structure. But once c5 has been committed, the general plan for both the sides, white always goes b4, b5 and tries to weaken this c6 pawn and then attack it. And black tries to break with e5, so he gets play in the center. So this is what Artemiev is going towards. He plays bishop e7, bishop d8, bishop c7, and then after taking, he tries to get this e5. So Aronian prevents it with f4. He prevents e5. I had a very similar position in the structure against the Polish grandmaster Maciej Bartel. Okay, the game itself has ended in a draw while I was explaining it. You guys are correct. I am like Ross. Uh, I'm already teaching history. The game has ended. So yeah, f4 short castle, g4, and let's look at how the game has went, and then quickly move on to the Magnus Carlsen Ding Lijian. g4, b6, g5, knight h5, takes, c into b6, a into b6. I guess by this point, Aronian probably realized that he hasn't achieved much out of the opening, because when black played b6 here, he would have really wanted to counter this with b4 and maintain a pawn here and maintain this weak pawn on c6. If he's forced to take c into b6, which was the case in the game, then you see how the pawn structure becomes disjointed, yeah, and white doesn't control as much territory as before, and also things become a lot freer for black on the queen side with c into b6, a into b6. So yeah, c into b6, a into b6, knight b5, and here he takes a simple repetition. So the first game is a very quick draw. This was unexpected for me because we saw how Aronian exerted pressure right from the beginning in his previous matches, both against Magnus Carlsen as well as Arjun Erigaisi. But today has been different. He makes a very quick draw with white. Let's move on to the Magnus Carlsen Ding Lijian game, which the first 20 moves are over. And again, chat, what is your first impression of this question? I will tell you what my first impression is. I will explain it, but do let me know what is your first impression. What's the first thing that strikes you when you look at this question for white? White to play, and I will wait for about 10 seconds while we watch while we get another sight of Aronian's t-shirt, and I am starting to wonder if I'm the only one who finds this t-shirt color fascinating in a weird way. So what's the first strategic thing? Yeah, we see that the material is equal, and it will be really interesting if we can see the Yes, Rohit Kumar. That's exactly what I was going for. Yes, and Saugata was also nailing it immediately in the other chat. Everything looks almost symmetric, but you have the pair of bishops. Now, again, chat, this is something I've explained to a lot of you many times. So, when you have these bishops of two different colors, opponent has only one bishop. What is the first thing that we should notice again? Which color complex does white have an advantage? Supposed advantage in this version. Which color complex? So the way I see chess, to simplify things, and these things are only for simplification. Uh, the way I see chess, there are, I think, three very important components. One is the pawn structure. The pawn structure is the skeleton of the position. Second is piece placement, and third is color complex. Yes, white squares or light squares, as Aditya says. In chess, we say light squares and dark squares, mainly because white squares can get a bit confusing because white and black, and sometimes the position is green. I mean, the board is green. When you look at these plastic boards, it's many times green. So we usually use the word light and dark squares, but it's also, you can also use white and black. That's fine. It is totally okay to see the world as white and black in the chessboard, but don't do that in life. So white has an advantage on the light squares. And for example, this diagonal is open, this diagonal is open. So do you understand why the live board bar, it shows a very, very slight advantage? Why, it's going towards the fifth rank, slightly protruding towards the fifth rank. Do you see why? It's because of this superior control, slightly superior control. And Shrishti, I'm sorry, we don't have gray in chess. We don't even have a single shade of gray. But yeah, so because of this, he has a slight advantage. And in grandmaster level games, these advantages, it can go a long way. At the lower level, it can be a bit harder to understand these things. But usually, the way how we understand these things is by looking at a lot of examples where we see the consequences of having the pair of bishops. I myself understood pair of bishops concept better when I started looking at a lot of examples where the sides made use of the pair of bishops. And then when I implemented it in my own games, my understanding became so much better. Until before that, people, used to say, oh, he has pair of bishops, he's better. And I used to keep wondering, why? But, in order to look cool, in order to, mix in with the other people, I also used to say, oh, pair of bishops, white should be better here, without understanding anything. And I just didn't want to be left out. But I only really understood it properly when I looked at a lot of examples of how pair of bishops was used to win games, and um, and also implemented it in my own games. So I'm not. I just meant that is not a single shade of gray in terms of color. Please don't misinterpret it. Soumya, welcome back. Are you here, Soumya?
Yes, I'm really sorry. Today my internet seems to be acting up. I have tried three different locations so far in the house. I hope this works.
Oh, I understand. I
um,
understand why the title of stream says Srinath, Soumya, and Vidit now. So it's Srinath, Soumya, and your internet, which is Vidit.
it's incredibly bad. Even I'm even using an Ethernet cable right now, and it still gets disconnected all the time. But okay, let's hope we can cover the rest of the tournament together at least. So what's up? What's going on in the games? Whom did the chat choose, by the way? Artemiev or Aronian?
The chat has 71% for Aronian and 29% for Artemiev. So you can still, the fans of Artemiev, you can still balance things in favor of your fan. I mean, not fan, your the guy you're rooting for by going and voting for him in the Chess 24 India channel. And what is what logic? Which logic are you talking about? Vidit ka logic? Yeah, of course it's Vidit's internet. She's imitating Vidit's internet. This is what we used to contend with for such a long time last year. It's correct logic only, no? इसमें क्या है? And yeah, so getting back, what was your initial question, Soumya? Chat distracted me.
नहीं, I was just wondering choose किसको किया Aronian की आरती में, but I remembered कि वो
हाँ.
सब लोग संदीप महेश्वरी बोल रहे थे. And how is the position on the board? Oh, we are watching Magnus versus Ding, is it?
Yes, Soumya, because before you blinked, Aronian and Artemiev drew.
Ah, what a pity. Okay, so we
But
will
don't
see the
worry,
next
they
game.
will. Yeah, they will start their next game in about 5 minutes or so. Uh, so yeah, stay tuned if you're here for the Aronian Artemiev game, and they'll be back. And this time we'll ensure that we catch when Aronian makes his way to the chat, so you don't just see his eyes.
Also, it's interesting. I predicted this Magnus versus Ding match, which is happening. It's just that it's not the final, but the match is happening. We get to see the match at least. And
I know, right? Yesterday
yeah.
I was thinking that Ding was probably thinking that he will play Magnus on the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and his wish was kind of fulfilled, but just not the way he wanted.
Yeah. I think the wish should have been like completed, while wishing, he should have specified in the finals because थोड़ा confused हो जाता है.
Yes. Autocomplete doesn't happen in your prayers, so do make sure that you complete it completely.
Do you make wishes while praying or do you just thank God? It's an interesting question. I'll ask chat also.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Okay, many people might not even pray, but like let's say, because I was having this discussion and actually there were many years in between when I never asked for anything. But
Mm-hmm.
nowadays I have started asking a bit.
Is it because of the greedy VD influence or something else?
I was having this discussion, and I realized that people do ask for something. Yeah, I used to think that you just need to go and thank God and come back for whatever is happening in your life, whatever good is happening. But then I had a discussion with friends, and I realized people actually ask for specific things while praying. So then I thought, okay, maybe I'll also do it. So nowadays
Yeah,
I
this
do.
is an interesting. This is an interesting. Oh, look at what's happening on the board. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Magnus is winning. He has won a piece. So we'll just break the discussion for
Oh
1 second
wow.
while we this show what happened on the board. So here as we explained a bit earlier, white is strategically better. So black went for something really concrete. He tried to get counterplay on the f2 e3 complex. Magnus defended with rook f1, but after knight into f2, it looked like he's losing something because rook into f2, bishop into e3, and this rook is lost. There's no way to even defend it with another piece. So what did Magnus have in mind, and what did Ding Lijian miss? It's already there on the live board, so I can't make this a question. But it was simply that white is not forced to take rook into f2 directly, and he can just go knight c4. The variation still continues, so there is still knight h3 check. So I'll let chat calculate this variation while we talk about the other topic, because I myself haven't calculated it fully, so I needed those 2 seconds. But now I see how white wins. There is a two move sequence, so white to play. It's actually a bit more than two moves, but the idea is pretty simple. The first two moves give you the direction to the other next few moves. And this is something which Ding would have probably seen if it was the finals, because after knight into f2, it cannot be something Magnus has missed. Okay, Magnus is not giving any time for the chat. We need to have a word with Magnus to spend 30 seconds when he's winning in order to give chat time to find these winning sequences.
Incredible,
Uh,
actually, that Ding missed it because it was just about. I mean, yeah, as you pointed out, probably he wouldn't have missed it had it been the final, but maybe the motivation is lower and
Yeah, I
he
mean, what
simply.
else could White possibly have here? He's obviously not going to take rook into f2, bishop at e3, and Magnus is obviously not going to miss something like this from this point. So yeah. If it was a normal regulation game, then Ding would have thought a lot. But I think fatigue and he really couldn't exert himself. So Magnus has won the first game. Aronian and Artemiev, the first game has ended in a draw. This is day one and set one of the final. It's a four-game set on day one, and there's a four-game set on day two. Uh, yeah. Vijay Parsadi misses your white background, Soumya.
Oh, thank you. Actually, I don't miss it at all because I'm in Pune today and I'm just so happy to be here. So I don't miss my white background at all, but it will be back soon in a few days' time.
Yeah,
You know that
hopefully.
feeling of coming back to your city, it is unprecedented. Like I was just dancing, when I came to Pune. Like the moment I arrived, I was just like so happy,
You should
so
have done
happy.
that on stream, but okay. Let's save it
It's
for a reel.
या वो बोलते हैं ना अपना घर होता है वैसे अपना सिटी होता है लाइक मुंबई कितना भी मरीन ड्राइव पाव भाजी चौपाटी जो भी बोलो फाइनली पूना इज पूना ओनली यू कांट compete.
True. I've also spent a bit of time in Pune, as you know this, but the chat doesn't. So yeah, I also spent quite a bit of time in Pune, but yeah, I think I've also had many fond memories there, and I also do. I also would love to visit sometime. Meanwhile, the
Hmm.
second game has started.
Oh wow, nice. Let's go. Finally, I'll get to watch one game with you and the chat. Let's go. So, English opening, no surprises here by Artemiev Vladislav, who loves to play the Reti and the English with white. And knight to a3. Mm-hmm. Uh, Interesting, actually, because usually this happens in this e6 setup. that white goes, like when black goes for knight f3 d5, g3 e6, c4 dc. Here queen c2 and knight a3 is an option, and immediate knight a3 is also an option. Very popular options, both of them. But Artemiev goes for this. So I mean, it's the
Okay. There we go again. Soumya is frozen again. G3. Uh,
if
yeah, so
something
she's
happened
back.
there.
Yeah, you got disconnected. Now you're again disconnected. Although we have your smile frozen, so it's not such a bad disconnection, but nevertheless, uh, can't hear you. Okay, so until Soumya comes back, uh, let me take over. G3, G6, and now after C4, D into C4. As Soumya pointed out, yes, this also happens after E6. After G3, G6, there are a few different ways for white to go. Uh, Black intends to get a good center after Bishop G7 and E5. I think Soumya, are you back? Is your internet back? You're muted.
I feel so bad about this. Oh no. Uh, okay, we'll try
Are you
once
using
more.
a familiar internet service provider by any chance?
No, in fact, it's supposed to be a very good internet provider, Airtel Fiber even. But just
Okay.
and I'm even using LAN actually. So it's amazing that the internet is so bad right now. Maybe there's
It's
some
probably
work.
just a problem with the city.
Maybe there's some work going on. Sometimes there's like some. Let's see. Bishop G2. Mm,
Yeah, so do you want to continue from where you left, Soumya?
I think. Okay.
Or shall I give you a minute to orient yourself? Okay, so just a famous guys like, Pune strikes again. Yeah, black wants to go bishop g7 e5. So white tries to undercut black center with c4, d into c4, knight a3, bishop g7, knight into c4. Here black has two ways of playing. One is he can play knight c6 and e5. So we get these types of questions, similar pawn structure, and the pawn is on d3, short castle. It's a bit like the Sicilian dragon reverse questions, if you guys notice, but it's not, it's reverse. Some of the ideas are similar, but it's a slightly different version. The other way to play is to put the pawn on c5, which the functions of both the pawn on c5 and e5 is to control the center. So c5, bishop g2, knight c6, d3, and now bishop d7. And here Artemiev plays something really strong and powerful, because black is developing so slow and black is taking his time, especially this move bishop d7, where I would have expected knight f6. Here he plays something very concrete and forceful: bishop e3, b6, d4, c into d4, knight into d4, and rook c8. This is the present position. Soumya, do we have you here?
I'm I'm considering shifting my location once more. So, Shri, would you mind
Sure,
giving
sure,
me
sure,
a few
sure.
minutes? Thank you.
Sure. You're
So,
welcome. No, I just don't want to. I just wanted to make sure that I don't interrupt you even when you're offline. I've been doing that a lot when you're online, but yeah, cool. So Soumya is like a sniper today. She's coming in and getting a few words in and changing her location. Coming in, she's opping or being a sniper, whichever game you have played. You get that reference. Getting back here, so how does white continue? How does white take advantage? The evaluation bar shows a big spike towards the white side. You see the evaluation bar is towards the sixth rank, but the position looks all symmetrical, right? Is there The position looks all symmetrical. So why is white better here? How do we try to understand this? Because as we have seen enough examples, as we know by now, uh, the evaluation bar doesn't really totally explain the position, right? It gives us a guidance, it gives an indication, but it doesn't totally give us the position. I mean, it doesn't totally give us the understanding of the position. So why is white better here, and how can you make use of it? Chat. What is your understanding? How do you understand this? And how how uh, how do you think white can take advantage of this position? How? Sound? By a sound variation? By a sound move? What sound are we talking about? So it's not easy. It's not easy to understand why white is better here, and the actual reason behind this is not something that even I think even a very strong player understands at first sight just by looking at it. That's exactly why Artemiev has spent more than 3 minutes on this position. He senses that there is something for white, but he's not sure what exactly it is, and he's trying to find this concrete line. He's trying to find this exact way of how he can get this going for himself. If you make a normal move like short castle, then black just goes knight f6 and castles himself, and we have this very symmetrical position, which is actually equal, because although this bishop on g2 is very powerful, black can neutralize it with his light square bishop, and it's about equal. So for white to try and keep the advantage, he has to act very forcefully, very concretely, and none of the answers which you're talking about is correct here, because they're all very general answers. I see something like control in the center, peace activity. Yes, it's true, all these things exist, but black can just neutralize it in a matter of moves. Illustrative variation: short castle, knight f6, rook c1, a nice developing move. Short castle. Now what does black do? He takes knight into d4, goes bishop c6, exchanges all the minor pieces. Position gets completely equal. So for white to retain his advantage, it's very, very specific. It's very, very concrete. And the reason is because white has this move knight b5. Knight b5 is very, very powerful because the next move, knight d6 check, is coming by force. And there is absolutely no way for black to prevent it. Do you see any way for black to prevent it? Yes, he does have one way, which is to go king f8. But this uh, this is something black will never play. Something like knight f6 is natural here, but here white gets this devastating idea: knight d6 check in, and after e into d6, knight into d6 check, the king moves. The king probably goes to f8. The computer shows king f e7 here, but that's a weird move. We humans don't consider such things that easily unless there is no other option. So king f8, and here again, white has this very strong move, rook c1. And this is something which Artemiev did not find, because it's mind blowing. It's not easy to understand. White can also take knight into c8 here, queen into c8, and then go rook c1. This calculation is not easy to see, and Artemiev did not have the benefit of evaluation bar while playing this. So this is the difference between human practical play and what actually the computer shows in each of these positions. In human practical play, these things are very, very hard to find because we don't have the benefit of evaluation bar. But if you have the evaluation bar, if there's a prompt, if someone goes up to Artemiev and taps his shoulder and says, look, there is something for you, the position is +3, and just gives this information, then he will find knight b5. So it's not that he missed it, it's that after knight b5, you cannot evaluate that it's +2 or +3 that easily. It's not easy to see the consequences of this, which the computer sees in a few seconds, by the way. But for humans, it's not very easy to go through this and understand the consequences. So for this reason, knight b5 was not played. Instead, short castle. And now black takes knight into d4, which I think is a very clever thing. Knight into d4, bishop into d4, knight f6. Now, if you see, there is no knight b5 happening, right? And the position is completely equal, completely symmetrical. White still has a very, very light pull, but what Aronian will do is he'll next go bishop c6, because it's very important to neutralize the light square bishop in these types of situations. And yeah, so that's exactly why Artemiev played knight e5 to prevent black from playing bishop c6, and black castle shot. So white can take this bishop on d7, but black will just take back with the knight most probably. So white will not have the pair of bishops because the bishop is forced to be exchanged. If you move away the bishop, you do it at the cost of a pawn, which is not worth it here. So bishop into g7, king into g7. The knight can go to f6, the knight can go to c5, and the knight can go to all these dark squares, which is beyond the influence of this light square bishop. And this is exactly why this position is completely all right for black and close to equal. So the bishop looks very strong. It's controlling a lot of squares on the light square diagonal, the long diagonal, but it doesn't really influence a lot. So Harsh is asking, how about knight into c6? Knight into c6 at what point? You mean at this point? I think this is a very, very interesting question. Yeah, knight into c6, bishop into c6. You take bishop into c6 check, rook into c6, and now queen a4. Awesome question. This is exactly how humans think. These are the things you should ideally be wondering about if you are trying to understand chess better. Because if you just look at the evaluation bar and say white is winning, that's not really any useful information for you. It's still nice, but it's a whole lot more interesting when you start delving into things and start trying to understand more. When you do that, you start looking at a whole new range of information, a whole new range of things to pay attention. It gets so much more interesting. So imagine you're in a world where you see only black and white, and then you suddenly unlock a feature where you can start seeing all the different colors. So the same way, when in chess, when you start understanding things more, when you start understanding and trying to appreciate things more, you start seeing and noticing a whole new range of things, which makes the game more interesting for you. And this is true in almost everything, not just in chess. For example, when you start noticing things in architecture, for example, you start appreciating things at a whole new level. Now, what I understand after knight into c6, bishop into c6, takes queen a4, is that black has this move queen d5, a very, very nice counter retort. This attacks both the c4 knight and the h1 rook. And if I was Artemiev, I would stop exactly here and conclude that white is not doing great and move on to the next variation. So this is probably what Artemiev saw. He saw that queen d5 was coming in, and he stopped here and decided to go for the short castle variation. Shrish, what is this obsession you have with gray? I don't understand. So yeah, short castle takes knight f6, knight e5, short castle. Artemiev goes rook c1, rook into c1, queen into c1, and he continues to keep this slight pressure. He has prevented black from playing bishop c6. Again, these are the little details which the computer bar will not show you. Yeah, like why knight e5 is important. The computer bar does not show you because you just go see the first move knight e5, and that's where your curiosity ends. But it's important to preserve more pieces, because the more pieces that get exchanged, the closer we go towards a draw. It's as simple as that. So the more pieces white manages to keep in the game, the higher the winning chances are, and higher that the lesser the chances that the game will go into a draw. So knight e5, short castle, and now rook c1, rook into c1, queen into c1. So if the position is about equal, but white has superior space, and this is the reason why he has slightly more pressure, and black responds with bishop b5. Meanwhile, guys, let's take a short break from here because it's about equal, and not just because of that. But there is an amazing legendary opening going on in the game two of Ding Lijian versus Magnus Carlsen. Before we shift to that, can you guess what opening that is? Clue: the course on that opening is on sale right now. So, what opening could it be in the other game between Ding Lijian and Magnus Carlsen? Chat, feel free to guess while we conclude this question and move on to that for some time. Queen into c1, bishop b5. Oh my god. I wish I had banning rights here. What is wrong with you guys? Don't you have any chess culture? I said it's a legendary opening. It's an awesome opening. And is this what you come up with? What's wrong with? Yes, Bakasur. Thank God there is still some culture left in the world. Yes, Rahul. Yes, Pat. Thank God. Thank God. Thank God. Yes, Suraj. Lay Paul, you're walking a very dangerous line. You don't want to get timed out here. Uh, yes, this is the opening which has uh, taken place in the Ding Lijian Magnus Carlsen game, the main line of the classical Catalan. Uh, yes, I do. I do have the rights, Shrishti. Just I just don't want to abuse it for now. But of course, my patience also has a limit. So, Aish Gupta, Saugat, you have been forewarned. You have been forearmed, and just be careful is all I can say. Yeah. So the classical Catalan. Let's not spend too much time here, but I'll just tell you some basic things. So e6, g3, d5, bishop g2, uh, bishop e7, knight f. Shrish, what I meant was I don't have the powers to time you out here, but I guess the day is not too far. No, it was not semi-terresh. Uh, Yeah, I'm reading chats from many different streams. Right now, I'm like Sauron. I have this one eye, fixed eye, and from there, I'm seeing everything: the board, the games that are happening, the different chats. There might be some hobbits I might be missing with my eye range, but apart from that, I do see everything. So do be careful. Yeah, so castle d into c4. Uh, Black takes his pawn, and white willingly, happily gives it up so that the bishop on the long diagonal gets opened. This bishop is like a sniper once again. It has long range, and there are a lot of pieces that come in within this range. So when they come, white just one shots it, tap tap tap, with a very very loud sound. So this is the reason why black tries to develop this bishop as soon as possible. Queen c2, a6. The idea is if white plays queen into c4 here, then what is black move here? Where should black go immediately? How does black gain a tempo to develop the bishop right away? The thing about Catalan, in many, many, many situations, it's very hard to get these pieces out. Again, these things are of very complex strategic nature. It takes a lot of time to understand. It took me many years to understand it myself. So I I understand that it's not easy to find this and understand this, but I think by now it has been, yes, exactly. Anamitra Giri, Harsh Upadhyaya, your Catalan. So now b5, queen c2, bishop b7, and this bishop is out. So for this reason, white starts with a4. So when queen into c4 happens, there is no b5. And now bishop d7, queen into c4, bishop c6. So when you're denied one way in life, you just find another way. It's as simple as that. So if the bishop is not allowed on b7, then it just comes to c6. Simple, job done. But on the other hand, the bishop on c6 not as comfortable as the bishop on b7. It's slightly more exposed. So bishop on b7, it's like it's sitting in this cozy home. Bishop on c6, it's a bit more like a tent, not totally with air condition or heating if you're in a cold place. you know uh, Slightly exposed. but nevertheless, the bishop controls almost the same things that it controls from on b7. Now white goes bishop g5 because we want to control the center. We want to restrict the bishop. And here there are many different moves that black can play. Knight b7 is one of the main moves. But whenever the bishop comes to g5, black immediately asks this question with h6, asking the bishop to choose between taking on f6 or moving the bishop away. It's like, it's asking, what do you want to do? Make a choice now, immediately. And usually white has to take bishop into f6 because there are no other suitable squares for the bishop. Yes, f4 is one of the suitable squares, and they have played this, but this has been utilized for many, many years. So bishop into f6, bishop into f6, knight d2, a5, and here black concedes the center with e4, but instead he settles for gaining control of the b4 square with knight a6, knight b4. This b4 square was weakened as soon as white played a4. So that's exactly how this high-level strategic games work. And after e4, knight a6, we have an approximately even position where Magnus seems to be a lot better prepared than Ding. He seems to be playing much more faster and much more confidently till now. And as appropriate when such legendary openings are played, as it is appropriate, we also have another very special person who has joined us back. Welcome back, Soumya. It's a good time for you to join back.
Thank you. Let's just I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that I can actually complete at least one game. I'm viewing at least one game today. Um, Looks
Are you
like
going to include it in your asking list in your prayer?
oh, this is a good idea actually. I'm actually sitting in the kitchen. I can just pray from here only, like no need to get up. So, oh, this is hilarious. Oh, maybe is this a Grunfeld? Let me just quickly capture one.
What? Soumya, how is this a Grunfeld? There is no G6.
There is no Jesus.
You're,
But how
you're,
did
you're
White
doing
get?
that just to troll me, right?
I'm just wondering how did White get everything that he wants? Oh, this is a Catalan. Is this the
Exactly.
Anish line or maybe the Gelfand line?
You summed it up perfectly, Soumya. How does White get everything he wants? Answer, play the Catalan.
What
You
a
just gave it
beautiful.
away.
Yeah, I'm so jealous of White right now. Got like, such a beautiful center with the knights, very well placed actually. Um, Knight on f3, knight on d2, bishop on g2. I'm going to check out my your course after this tournament, Shri. I've decided.
Awesome, 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 Soumya. I have to say that's one of the wisest decisions you have taken in your life, and you won't regret it. You wouldn't need to use the 30-day money back.
Uh, Actually, I already do play the Catalan with White, and I think it will be so good to actually go through your course. And especially if you already know an opening, it's so useful to brush it up and see all the updates. And as Vidit even yesterday mentioned, all the chessable courses are so well defined,
Comprehensive.
comprehensive. Yes, so it will be a lot of fun, I think, to go through it and get my
Yeah.
little back.
Uh, yeah, so this is the question in the Ding Legion Magnus, and Ding has been spending a bit of time here. Meanwhile, I'll catch you up on what's happening in the Artemiev Aronian game. So we last left it at around this point where, uh, Bishop b5 was played. This is where we last left it. This is a very clever move by Aronian, attacking both e2 and d4 at once. White responded with rook d1. And now chat, why did black take bishop into e2? What did white have here? Not an easy question, but I've seen many, many strong players in the chat today. Saugata Bose has been on fire. He has been answering everything correctly. And a few people in this chat as well. So I'm just going to take the chance and give it to you guys. Why didn't black take bishop into e2? And why did he play queen c8? Not an easy question to answer again, but I believe in you. I trust you guys. So let's see what happens. Although I wouldn't trust you guys to make superior cultural decisions like Catalan over 1b3. In looking at these things within the chessboard, here I trust you guys.
So basically, Magnus is leading their match, and Ding has a very good position now in the opening. So maybe we will see Ding leveling the scores in the match for now. And while this match has been drawn so far, so
Yeah, this
whoever
match
wins
has been
will
drawn
get
so
the.
far, but I think Artemiev has a very nice pressure. Yeah.
Oh, Artemiev
And
has such a nice, yeah. Completely agree. Such a nice position and so many options actually as white over here. Um, have you already decided what you want to do as white here? Because I see like a few options.
yeah. Let's go through this very quickly because something very exciting is happening on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so a lot of people in the chat said bishop into b6, trying to make advantage of this pin, but this would be a blunder because
Mm-hmm.
queen into d1 check also works, queen into b6 also works, and so the answer is knight c6 and then rook e1. This is very powerful for white because naturally you would do something like queen d6 or queen c7, yeah, and now after rook e1, the e7 pawn falls, and this also comes under this. This is the reason why Aronian didn't take bishop into e2,
Mm-hmm.
and uh,
Wow.
I have to move on very fast because something very exciting is happening on the board. Queen c8, e3, rook d8, b3, queen b8, queen a1. All these moves normal. And here Aronian blended with knight into d7. This was a huge turning point because after knight into f7, king into f7, sorry, bishop into d4, king into f7, white just takes back bishop into g7 and he's a pawn up. After knight into f7, white is one pawn up. If you go king into f7, then now there is bishop into g7, and again white is a pawn up. Both have taken one piece each. So bishop into d4, attacking the queen as well as the knight. White takes back queen into d4, and now after king into f7, it looks like black has won one more piece. He took d4, now he takes f7. He has taken two pieces, whereas white has only taken queen into d4, one of the pieces. But after king into f7, white has this move queen d5 check, attacking both the king and the bishop simultaneously with check. So after king g7, queen into b5, white is just a pawn up, and this is how Artemiev has won a pawn against Aronian. So Artemiev in a huge advantage. He's just one pawn up, but Aronian has 8 minutes and Artemiev has only 1 minute. So what do you guys think? Who is going to take this? Will the superior position win or the superior time advantage win? Let me start with Soumya. What do you think, Soumya?
I like Artemiev's chances so much more, especially I really like the way he has conducted this game. And even this queen a1 idea was so subtle and nice, making a battery on the a1 h6 diagonal and then taking on f7 with the knight, of course, was the killer move. And now he's got a beautiful queen in the center. Usually in queen endings, if the queen is placed in the center, it's the best thing that you can achieve. So yeah, I think he's got everything going for him, and I feel he will convert this.
Chat, what do you think? Will Artemiev convert this? We have seen so many situations by now, where someone has the advantage but doesn't manage to convert it for various reasons. Sometimes due to time, sometimes due to brilliant defense by the opponents. So, what do you guys think based on what you have seen so far? And once again, there is still the poll in the Chess 24 India channel. Who are you rooting for in the final, Artemiev or Aronian? And you can still go and vote there now that you have some additional information that Artemiev is winning in the second game. Okay, so it's 32% for Artemiev, 68% for Aronian. And I just went on my third account and chose Artemiev now because I see that Artemiev is winning. And Soumya has disappeared with that. I think she disapproves of my electoral practices, but I think it's okay in YouTube to vote from different accounts. Harshraj Artemiev will convert. Bristi White will win. Pratibha says Levon will convert. Really, but how will Levon convert? He's down a pawn. That's a very high level of fandom and confidence, which I appreciate. I uh, Aditya Artemiev will win. So lots of Artemiev. Harshraj, such silly questions does not deserve an answer. It's like asking if Earth revolves around the sun. By now, we all know that that is the case. It's also an isolated pawn against a kingside majority, so can't say for sure. It's nice. It's nice that you started noticing these things. I'm happy. The thing is, apart from being a pawn up, white also has this bishop against black's knight, and we have seen a few endgames in which we have seen how much superior the bishops are against the knight in these types of situations, because the bishop is a long range piece, so it can do so many more things than the knight. Artemia's conversion technique will be to exchange the pawn and create a passed pawn. So how do you create a passed pawn when you have a majority on one side? See where you have the majority. Here there are 4 pawns against only 2 pawns. Typical technique: exchange one pawn, move the bishop, control e4, so move the bishop to c6. These types of situations, again, I'll make a random move to illustrate. So you take this pawn as white, put the bishop on c6. From c6, it controls the knight beautifully. So when you have a bishop against the knight, you should place it 2 squares away from the knight, wherever, whether it's a rank or a file. If you do it 2 squares away from the knight, then it takes control of half of the knight squares. So this is how you play with bishop against a knight. And I wrote an article about this a very long time ago. So he has gone bishop c6 in the game. And then next he will take h into g, and play f4, create a passed pawn. Simple, straightforward winning technique illustrated by Artemiev and explained by me. Yeah, so this is so I wrote an article about this controlling the knight. So back in times when there used to be fights in the medieval times, there used to be a unit called knights, which you would know from the Age of Empires 2 game, The Conquerors. These knights were very powerful because they were mounted on a horse, and at that time not everyone had access to weapons, whereas the knights, they would have access to weapons, and mounted on a horse, it gave them a lot of advantage against people who were standing on the ground with inferior weapons. So they came up with this weapon called a pike. Again, a unit in the Age of Empires 2, The Conquerors. A pike was not your normal infantry weapon. It was not just a sword or a knife, but it was really long, like a stick. It was really long with a sharp blade in front. So if you use a pike to attack a knight mounted at the top, it gave you access to get into the attacking range of the knight whilst you not being in the range, because you have this really long pike. This was also used in the Bahubali movie. Uh, Now, putting your bishop or pawn 2 squares away from the knight is very much like a pike. So when there is a knight on f6, put a pawn on f3 or a bishop on f3, and it controls so much of the squares that the knight can come into. So if the knight charges into your position, like knight e4 check, then you just take it with your pike. You just use your blade and kill the knight. This is the way you play against the knights. Exactly, it's like a spear. It's like a spear, true. But pikeman is an higher unit compared to the spearman, so it's an upgrade. And yeah, it's an upgrade, so it's better to use pike rather than spear. Spear was a older weapon we used to hunt when we are hunter gatherers. So pike is better. King f3, knight c3. Yeah, so what Aronian did was he played d5, to get access to the e4 square. And Artemiev just prevents it with f3 for now, just giving him time to. Eventually, the pawn has to go to f4. Eventually, he has to create an outside passer. But he plays one more as a breather, and also to illustrate black that uh, there's nothing he can do. It's white who's the boss. So king f7, h into g5, h into g5, f4, the passed pawn created. Black cannot fight here, so he has to try and get something on another front. So knight e4 check, king f3, knight c3. He tries to attack a pawn in another direction. White just takes f into g5, king g6, king f4, and black takes a pawn on the queen side. They're playing really fast, so let's catch up to the live action, and then later we can come back and explain things. Bishop to d5, b5, and bishop e4 check, king g7, king e5. Look at this. How Aronian, he did not take g into f4 and allow e into f4, but made white capture f into g5. So instead, if he had taken g into f4, white would have had two connected passes. But since he took knight c3, he has only one passer and a doubled pawn. So this is a very, very nice defense by Aronian. But we are not sure yet if it is enough. But this gives black very good saving chances, very good drawing chances. And welcome back again, Soumya.
For white, because now the next idea is to pick up the a pawn after bishop d5 and simply take on a2. White needs to be still careful. For example, let's say black plays king f8 and you play bishop d. Oh, they are moving very fast. Maybe we should have a look at the position on the board. The knight is on c3 right now, attacking the bishop on e4. Bishop c2. The idea is to go bishop b3 and simply pick up a2. So black wants to take on e3 now, and white doesn't even allow that. White goes e4.
Apologies, Soumya. People are saying there's a bit of a lag, but if you just refresh, if you just press Control or click the refresh button, it will be right back to where you left it. Fresh. Please carry on, Soumya.
Yeah, absolutely. So knight to e3. Aronian being so resourceful. He wanted to take the e3 pawn, and once white has this g5 and g4, he could have probably set up a defense. So white doesn't give up the e3 pawn. He goes e4. Now the e4 pawn is protected by the bishop. Knight to e3. Bishop d3 could be expected. Black will take on g4 and king a2. But now,
I think now it's basically heading towards a draw, because white will take the pawn on e2. Black will, assign one unit of his army to take this pawn, another unit to take this pawn. And as we all know, even though white will be a piece up at the end, he will have a bishop. The king and bishop versus king is a draw. So it's pretty simple for black. And there's no way white can try to win here, So once again, although it was a huge advantage for Artemiev, he simply didn't have enough time to convert.
But what a nice difference by Aronian, and it's very difficult to understand where he went wrong unless we actually go back to the position and check it deeply. So definitely not an easy win, as the computer says. Computer might be showing a +1, +2, +3 advantage even, but it was simply not clear as to where exactly Artemiev made the mistake.
True. We will try to catch up that point during one of the breaks, but we also have another live game going on, and that's between Ding and Magnus. And as expected, white has a slight advantage. That's something you already knew looking at the opening, right, Soumya?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm yet to get over Aronian's resourcefulness. Let's see how Magnus handles this position. Maybe he also is able to create some kind of magic over the board and keep it under control. One idea is to bring the knight to c5, even though on b4 it's already on an outpost, but from c5 it will attack the b3 weakness. So it's probably better placed on c5. On the other hand, black needs to be careful about a move like d6, with the idea that after bishop g2 we have dc7 intermezzo. It doesn't work in the present position, I guess, because rook into d2, and bishop d7 back.
Yeah, rook into d2, and bishop d7 back.
But black always needs to be careful about these tricks, and white could get some kind of d6 anytime.
Yeah, true, Soumya. White, black always has to watch out for this d6, and yeah, king f8 was just a random move I made for illustrative purpose. But yeah, in general, black has to be a bit careful, and I think white is controlling a
You know
bit
what?
more space.
You know
Yes.
what? Maybe your king f8 kind of gave white some chances, because after this knight d7 check and knight into b6, so king f8 would surely not be played. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I basically, what I mean to say is that black is has many problems to solve, and he has played rook b8. Wow, very nice move, against this d6 idea. But now suddenly, if black allows dc7, it's a fork on the two rooks. So after d6, he's actually planning to take on d6.
Okay, just not go bishop into g2, yeah? Just
Yeah,
liquidate everything here. And white cannot even capture back with the knight because that would lose the e5 pawn. He can take with the rook though.
he could go for this position, but do you think it's enough after rook d6, rook into d6, bishop g2, king g2, and knight bishop into e5 even? Or maybe just, yeah, bishop into e5 and knight e5, this sort of position.
I think there's still strong pressure for white. Because black is defending this b6 pawn passively, white is attacking this. White is the one putting pressure on this, and knight d7 is also incoming. So in general, I think although the computer shows completely equal, uh, I think there is some pressure. But for black, the way to solve it, I think you're already calculating that, right?
Actually, there are two ways I would say. One maybe is b5,
Mm-hmm.
but the other way is also knight a6. I mean, I think black has a choice here.
Okay, so knight a6 for knight d7. You want to
You
come
kill
rook
the
d8?
knight, and after rook b6, rook into d7, rook a6, rook b7. Even this position, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe black can hold this, but obviously, if he doesn't need to go into it, then he will not.
Right. Then it's probably better to play b5 and try to go into an endgame with equal pawns rather than a pawn down. But what you're saying is this 4 versus 3, there is a very high drawing chances and very low winning chances for white. Yeah. I think like 25% white win and 75% draw.
Mhm.
So yeah, h4. Meanwhile, there's a super chat from Kabir Maheshwari. Any idea best opening for a 600 rated player? Do you want to take that, Soumya?
Kabir, are you Sandeep's brother? Is your brother playing? Like, about 600 opening. What was it? Was he asking for an opening or a book recommendation?
He was asking for any idea best opening for a 600 rating player. So best opening.
Oh, usually the initial openings that we learn are the ones which control the center directly, because chess principles basically start with controlling the center, developing all your pieces, keeping your king safe, and then using all your pieces to create attacking opportunities, create threats against your opponent. So it is always a good idea to start with the opening that controls the center. E4, E5 was the first opening I learned as black, and E4 was the first opening I learned as white, because both the moves are aimed towards the center. You can also go for D4 as your first move and D5 as your first reply as black. But also, I would say consider your personal preferences, because if you are usually, and this is obviously a very generic statement, that but if you are usually a dynamic player, then e4 are gives you more opportunities to create dynamics over the board, while if you are a positional player, then d4 gives you more opportunities to create positional kind of setups over the board. So initially it's always better to stick to your style and get into positions that you like to play, and only once you're comfortable with chess, you explore different opportunities so that you can expand your chess knowledge and enjoy chess to the fullest.
Soumya, I also have a follow-up question to that.
Mhm.
So, are you sure? Are you sure of the advice you gave right now? Like, would you stand by it, testify it, even in a court of law?
Exactly. So there was a disclaimer that it's a very generic statement. So generic statements usually don't apply in every situation, but most of the times it's true. I think E4 does give you more opportunities to create dynamic play because your opponent will usually reply with either E5 or C5. These are the most common replies against E4. Against Sicilian, you can play open Sicilian and go for all-out attack. Against e5, you can play an opening like Scotch or go for a more subtle approach with Roy Lopez or Spanish as it is called. And you
I
have
mean, no,
some.
why I asked this, I couldn't help but wonder or notice
Mhm.
that would 1b3 even be in your top 5 recommendations, because it's clearly not in the top 2.
Not for the beginners. I wouldn't recommend it for the beginners. I think in chess, you should explore everything. So I will definitely recommend 1b3 for people who are already playing chess for maybe 1 or 2 years already and have some knowledge of chess already, have had some experience with other openings, and then go for 1b3. But I would not recommend 1b3 as your first opening that you learn in chess. That is for sure.
All right, that's exactly what I wanted to extract from you. Guys, please clip that and send it to me. You have my email in the description on my YouTube channels.
But as I mentioned, guys, it is a good opening, and I think in chess you should not limit yourself to one specific kind of position or one specific kind of setup. And B3 is a very interesting opening where you want to go into positions which are unexplored. That is the whole idea of playing 1b3. So, to avoid theory, to take your opponent into a forest, deep dark forest, where 2 plus 2 is could not equal to 4, it could be 5, could be 6, it could be 7, whatever you want. That is when you go for openings like 1b3.
Yeah. Uh, so I'm telling chat that now 1b3 is a forbidden fruit for them, because most of our chat is just starting to
Learn.
learn. Yeah, yeah. But the forbidden fruit tends to be the most attractive one also. So I don't know what chat is going to do based on that information. But it's certainly a forbidden fruit for them. All right. So the game has seen a few updates. So white did get this d6 break, and black also did get this b5 break, both of which we were discussing. The position is going towards something really equal, towards a it's getting liquidated and watered down. Do you think there is much winning chances for white here, Soumya?
Yeah, that's exactly like I was thinking about. Once you get this b5 in, how does white play for a win? But actually, right now the immediate problem is the a5 pawn, and bishop into d7 is almost forced, no? Because otherwise I take on f6 even. So bishop into d7, rook d7, and now again the a5 pawn is hanging. Rook a8 is not possible because of the beautiful bishop on g2. But black has a move like rook b5. Oh, or rook d8 is even better actually. Rook d8 is beautiful. That is exactly the move that probably solves black's problems.
Yeah, it solves black's problems. And Vishwa just sent me a screenshot saying, not sure if it is Srinath or Soumya. Guys, I hope you have a clear picture, and I do hope you're not mixing up between the two of us.
Oh, hi Viswa. What's up? How are you doing?
All right.
Our
So
Prep
black
Chess
plays nice.
was asking me about the quote. I said, yes, it is Mikhail Tal's quote about making 2 plus 2 Not equal to 4, but making it into 5 or something else.
Someone in the chat, Prabhat is saying if 1b3 is a forbidden fruit, then AD is Adam.
What?
Adam.
Oh, Adam. Okay. Oh my God.
Well, AD might be Adam, but he hasn't found Eve yet. So bishop into f2 check, king h2, and this is just heading towards a draw, I guess. Yeah, it feels so watered down.
Mhm.
I think it's a good moment to revisit that prayer question. Guys, Soumya was asking about do you ask things when you pray? So maybe we can get back to that and let us know. Uh, let us know
हाँ
what
ये तो
you.
ड्रॉ हो जाएगा अभी. So actually, what is the score between them? I think
So
first.
Magnus is leading 1-0 in the first set. With this draw, it will be 1.5 in favor of Magnus. He has to score 2.5 to only win the first set because there is a second set tomorrow of 4 games. And only if you manage to get a score of 1.5 between these two sets do you actually win the match. This is the format of the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour.
Yeah, and this will this is surely going into a draw because it's equal pawns, opposite colored bishops, and not many pawns as well on the board. Not much material left on the board, so nothing much to create. White is trying to create a pass pawn out of his b pawn. So White is trying actually. He will put b4, b5, b6 even. But Black will go to c7 with his bishop, and White could then, once you get your pawn to b5, you get your knight to c4. The bishop on c6 does a great job of controlling the f6 knight. That is actually the reason White could try this position.
Yeah, exactly. I was taking the chat through how you should place your pieces two squares away from the knight usually, whether it's a rank or a file, and how it is. I was also teaching them a lot about the medieval war histories and how feared the knight was, and how they turned out to be countered, and they started calling me Ross because I was teaching them history.
Oh my God. I can relate to friends' quotes so much these days because every evening Ajinkya's favorite way to chillax is to watch one episode of Friends. So I at least overhear it. And yeah, totally. Ross and all his scientific adventures. Yesterday, I saw the episode where Ross cannot flirt, and it's so,
Yeah,
so
that
awkward.
does make me Ross even more.
Hey, why did he go to c4 with his knight? Because of king d6, king c5, maybe. Yeah, if you go knight b2, maybe I just go king d6 and king c5.
Knight b2, yeah, knight b2, king d6, knight c4, king c5. I think this game is. I think we can kind of decide the result. So maybe we should go back to the Aronian Artemiev, whose third game has just begun. The first 2 games have been draw so far, and we are back in the same opening which we saw in the first game, except that White did not insert bishop g5, but went knight h4 right away. Knight h4, bishop g6, queen b3. Aronian going after the initiative right from the beginning, putting pressure on his d5 and b7 pawns, which, as we know, or maybe we don't know, but in a lot of these Slav-like structures, not exactly Slav, the pawn is not on c6, but in these structures where the bishop comes out early, the b7 pawn tends to be a bit sore or fragile. So queen b3 tends to be very effective in these types of systems. Knight c6, and now chat, what if White takes queen into b7? This is a very good question to ask you because this is a very popular opening trap which you can actually use to win games. And This will be very useful and relevant for you. So black to play, how can you use this trap and ensure that in the future you can go queen b3, knight c6 and score points in a lot of games? Krabat, that's a good try, but not the right answer. Mihir, good try, but a small problem with the notation. But Brishti Mukherjee, that's the right answer. So we shout out to Brishti. You have won the fastest finger contest, and someday we will invite you to the hot seat.
There are actually two ways to continue even.
By the way, is this the same Brishti Mukherjee who is a 1900 FIDE rated player and a women candidate master? Because if we have someone that strong in the chat, we have to start asking a lot more tougher questions. Sorry, Soumya, you're saying something?
Oh no, I was wondering even the other move might work, no? Maybe it's even stronger.
Knight a5.
No. The knight can go to like 3 places right now. 4, 5 actually.
Okay. But which other move?
Just taking the pawn, yeah?
Okay. Since this is a VD centered stream, we make it greedy.
I mean, why not? You're getting the pawn and you're getting the same threat. So why not?
Yeah, why not? It's a fair question. Knight into d4, because knight c2 cannot be prevented against. So knight into d4, knight b4, both these moves with the same aim, with knight c2 check, but with knight into d4 you actually pick up a pawn, so it's actually even more stronger. This is why we need Soumya to be here all the time. She finds these very strong tactical concrete ideas, and this is also winning for black. Night before,
sure.
Usually it also
winning. Like let's just maybe we can just have some fun and go ahead. Like, what do you think? Like maybe knight b5 here. Let's just see this variation till the end.
All right. So knight b5, knight c2 check.
And I'll play king d1. I won't. And then there is a.
You have thought this through, haven't you?
Yes, I have thought of some. I haven't thought about it fully, but it's just nice to see this variation. Maybe we can.
Is this even winning for black anymore?
Exactly. I'm not sure if it's winning. It's just a fun variation to play, but it is. Oh, is this actually even losing? Oh no, it can't lose. White can't lose. Black can't lose this. That's for sure.
D to c4 check. Bishop
he
d2.
Could lose this even. He could lose.
Yeah. Exactly. I know. That's exactly why I stopped. But I think bishop e4 is an important intermezzo here.
Yes. So bishop d2, bishop e4. Exactly. So
this prevents knight into g6 because the c2 knight is dependent on this bishop. If white captures knight into g6, then the c2 knight would have been hanging. So black goes bishop e4. And now after knight into c7 check, black just plays king d7. It looks like white is losing at least a piece. All these pieces are hanging, but white still has this intermezzo, knight d5, check, king d6. And can you complete this?
I was even looking at king d7, queen b5, king c7, and luckily bishop a5 is not possible because it is pinned.
Oh, yeah, true.
Okay, so king d6, and now there are ways to bring our bishop into the game because it is not pinned. So one way is I'm just choosing the best way. Yeah, I think I got the best way. Bishop b4 is. Oh no, bishop b4, knight into b4, and then you pick up the knight on d5 after queen into b4.
Yeah, also attacking the queen with a tempo.
This will not work. And after bishop f4, I have e5.
Yeah, e5 or even king c5. I was thinking, opening up the spin on the d5.
Yeah, this is so much fun.
There's no dangerous check. So I think in the end, black wins.
Yeah, this is a very fun line which we went through, which will not happen on the game. But Nice to see these options and tactics.
Indeed. Meanwhile, yeah, we do have women candidate Master Vrishti Mukherjee in the chat. She just
Oh,
confirmed that it is her
nice,
on the
fun.
chat. Sashwat is asking, is this the exchange bomb cloud?
King on c5 is having such a nice fresh air walk.
But yeah, is there anything more, or we can return to the main line?
Yeah, let's go. I think this is very well established. No, now white is.
Yeah. So long story short, this is why you don't take queen into b7 here. But just one more thing I wanted to show you. You know, there are situations where you play knight b4 and there is no knight c2 threat. Let's say
Mhm,
it's defended for whatever reason. But knight c2 check is not the only threat here thematically. Black also threatens to make a draw with rook b8, rook 8, rook b8, rook 8 repetition. So
mhm.
this is the reason why knight b4 typically tends to be very powerful against queen into b7 in all queen into b7 related lines. Queen into b7 is also a forbidden fruit, but in chess we call it the poison pawn. So just don't touch the b pawn, guys. This is the moral of the story in any situation.
So bishop.
Yeah, knight c6,
No.
white took. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so white took on d5 and then ed5, and I think he played knight into g6, right? Or did he play
No.
bishop?
He waited because I just gave them this life advice today. You know, never commit until you have to. So since this bishop cannot move anywhere practically, white tries to delay knight into g6 until the last possible moment, and so he takes it only when you know there is a concrete threat of black moving it. So
Mm-hmm.
he starts with e3 and only then he takes knight into g6. H into g6, bishop d2, short castle, bishop d3, and he has this position with the pair of bishops.
So they have made two draws already, and now Aronian's second white game. Actually, it's interesting that Artemiev, he didn't go for this Grunfeld setup that he went for against Ding, and he went for this solid line instead with d5
Aronian.
and bishop f5. Yes.
No, but yeah, what you're saying is true.
Interesting.
Absolutely. He didn't go for. Yeah, people typically they tend to choose their openings according to their specific opponents.
Mhm.
So the choice it's really based on very specific opponents. You know, their strengths, their weaknesses, their tendencies. Most importantly, everyone has certain tendencies in the opening, and the choices are largely defined according to that. So every top player they have this huge range of openings, and typically they tend to their opening choices. It's based on not just what they are capable of, but their opponent's very specific tendencies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we spend a lot of time choosing what to play before the game rather than checking the line. Checking the line is less time consuming rather than deciding which opening to go for. Because usually, once you're a professional, you're not playing just one line with either color and you have some choices. And it takes some, at least for me, it's always taken more time than actually checking the line. What about you, Sri?
Uh, yeah, I think it takes about an hour or two for me to check my opponent, and then I used to spend about 4 hours preparing and checking different options. But I tend to decide fast. You know, I mean you have to take decisions at
You
one
used to
point. Yeah,
prepare for 4 hours before the game?
yeah. I used to once upon a time when chess was played over the board in the classical
Really?
format.
Like every time you would spend 4 hours before the game? To
Yeah. Long once upon a time, long ago, in a land when there was no COVID, uh, when chess was played over the board in classical format, I used to prepare. I used to spend time um, It used
That's
to take
actually
like
very
approximately.
unusual because they always advise to conserve your energy and not prepare much before the game, right? Like very
Yeah,
few
but you know
say,
what people advise and what they do, it tends to be very different in general.
really? You think so? Like this
Yeah,
advice is
yeah.
only for other people, now, so that they don't progress as much.
No, no, not like that. Not like that. But you know, there are so many things to check, and you want to be really well prepared.
Hmm.
So especially, you know, for me, because I stopped playing chess completely professionally at some point. I was a semi-professional.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of things which I prepare for others, but I don't have time to go through it myself. So before the game, I really have to catch up on a lot of information because it's all there on my computer, but it's not on my brain the same way it is for the players. So in my case specifically, I had to, otherwise I would suffer on the board.
I see. For me, I usually tend to do better when I don't prepare much before the game because then I have more energy to play. But then again, it depends on what kind of work I have done before the tournament. If I've worked a lot on openings, then this works very well. But then if I haven't, then before the game, you have so many things to check and you've forgotten everything. And oh God, it's like such a tiring process because by the time you reach the game, you're yawning. Yeah, like you're so tired. You've already prepared for 3, 4 hours before the game. So it doesn't work out really well for me to prepare a lot. And I would prefer to actually rest as far as possible.
Yeah. It also depends. It depends on the individual, and it also depends on what stage they are in, and a lot of other factors. So one of the last tournaments I won, the Kolkata Open in 2018, the games used to be at 3 p.m. and we used to get into the car at 2:30. So just before getting into the car, I used to, you know, transfer some of the files to my phone for a last minute revision.
Oh my God,
And
really? Oh
yeah,
my
yeah, I would
God.
just copy and paste the PGN on my messenger, and in messenger you can send files to yourself, send messages to yourself. So I would just do that, and I would be checking stuff, you know, till about 2:50 on my phone before I would have to turn the phone in, you know, before entering the playing hall. I was checking that till the last moment, and some of the lines it came exactly on the board, so it was
Wow.
worth it. I
Oh,
even
that's
won a game
brilliant.
in 10 moves, but that's not related to any special opening preparation.
That's brilliant. And I think, is this a tournament you won? You won a tournament.
Yeah. It's a tournament I won. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yes, I remember you won a tournament in Kolkata and it was a really strong grandmaster tournament. So.
Yeah. I think that's the only tournament I won in Kolkata.
Mhm. Nice. Then it's completely worth it. Yeah, then it's completely worth it. By the way, talking about pre-game preparation and deciding which opening to play, I have a very funny story. So I once was playing against Debashish Das, who's a grandmaster from Odisha, and I had played with him earlier like twice and had lost both the times. Okay, this was the third
Mhm.
time I was playing with him, and all 3 times I was black. No, I was white once and I was black once, and this time also I was playing black in 2018. And it was a Slav defense game, and he had prepared some opening novelty and all. Okay, very jazzy stuff, but I managed to, you know, complicate matters, and actually I even got a good position, but then I couldn't really convert it, and it was probably equal, but I had some initiative, and then finally we drew. And you know, usually in over the board tournaments, for the chat I'm telling ki गेम के बाद आप अपने ओपोनेंट के साथ गेम एनालाइज करते हो. एनालिसिस रूम होता है, एक अच्छे से मस्त एनालिसिस रूम होता है, एंड यू डिस्कस द गेम विद योर ओपोनेंट एंड यू शेयर योर थॉट्स एंड एवरीथिंग. इट्स अ लॉट ऑफ इट्स अ ह्यूज लर्निंग एक्सपीरियंस एंड आई ऑलवेज ट्राई टू डू दैट. तो मैंने मेरे ओपोनेंट को पूछा एकदम पोलाइटली, हम करेंगे क्या? हाँ, एनालाइज. एंड ही इज लाइक, हाँ दीदी, चलो चलो. एंड ऑल, like we analyzed the game for half an hour. All the analysis from my end. From his end, there was only one line every few seconds. I should have chosen a different opening against you. I should have chosen a different. And then, dude, we played an entire game. I understand your regret, but like this is not game analysis, you know. You can do this when you go home, like this, all this regret thing. Oh, it was hilarious. Found it as so amusing.
That is
Very,
that is typically how life goes. Yeah, that's
yeah,
typically
yeah,
how
yeah.
people think about life.
Instead of thinking about what is in front of you, you think about what you could have done 10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
True.
absolutely. So chess actually, people in the chat ask ki chess kaise help karta hai. Many times we have these super chat questions, yeah, and we give like 1,000 answers, 1,000 different answers. But I think this is one of the things, yeah. You in chess, you have to think about the present moment. Like you have to think about the position in front of you. You can't think about, अरे 10 move पहले क्या करना चाहिए था, 20 move पहले क्या करना चाहिए था. Those thoughts are completely irrelevant because you have to play the position on the board. And I think in life also, whole of 2010 and this whole decade has been about live in the present moment, live in the present moment. All the big TED talks were about this. So I think chess helps a lot in that.
Right. Coming back to the present moment, it looks like Aronian has made some major progress in the game while we were pondering about the bigger questions of life. Yeah. And
Yeah.
chat, once again, a very simple strategic question. If I make a random move with black, something like g6, then how would you respond as white? This is a very simple question for you. But on the other hand, uh, I think appropriate. This is the first question. While you're pondering upon this, while we get your chat messages, the other question: why is this question showing such a big spike for white? Now, I would really love for some of you, not for all of you, because some of you might just enjoy watching it completely casually. But for some of you who are interested in the more finer aspects of chess, to really start asking these questions whenever you see any live game going on. Why is the bar showing such a big spike? Why exactly? And if you're not able to understand this why as obviously, then the bar evaluation has almost very little relevance. So that is also a question for you. Why do you think white has such a big advantage, and how can white try and make more of it in this position? What would Aronian try to do to convert this? But first of all, what is the factor that leads to such a big advantage for white? Uh, let's hear it from you guys. Mihir Shah has a very interesting insight in his chat. Brishti, of course, goes for Rook F1 and H4, H5. But yeah, Rook F1 and now Rook E6. And how does White continue now? Because Rook F1 is a pretty obvious move, attacking the F7 point. And now Rook E6. And now how does White continue to exert pressure here? I'm also curious, what would you do here, Soumya, as White?
In the live position or in the position after G6?
In the position we have on the analysis board, Rook F1, Rook E6, and now what?
I actually like what Aronian did in the game, so probably I'll go for that. Queen E1 and Queen H4.
Exactly. Fantastic. Uh, Fantastic illustration of how you can look at what's happening in the game and apply it in your own games. Queen E1, two threats. One is Queen F2, and another is Queen H4, and White is clearly better here. And this is exactly what Sachin Malik also wrote in the chat. I think this is close to winning for White, which is why G6 is a very bad and weakening move. There are people in the chat writing about something like E4, but E4 is not necessary here, guys. E4 would make sense if you're not able to exert additional pressure. But if you're able to do it for free, then why do you spend a pawn? So instead, black went rook e6 without playing g6, overprotecting the f6 point, not weakening anything, and bishop f5, rook e7. rook f1, rook e8, and as Soumya pointed out, queen e1, knight e4, and now queen h4 with the threat of queen h7 and queen h8 mate. So how would black try to defend from this position? Again, one popular method for studying chess, whenever we look at any game, uh, it's very useful to try and think for ourselves before looking at the answer or before looking at what was played in the game. This gives us a whole different perspective of whatever we are looking at, because when you already know the answer, it all looks so easy, it all looks so obvious. But when you look at it from when you think a bit before looking at it, you start to appreciate the finer aspects within the question which you wouldn't notice if it's exactly what Soumya is doing right now. She's calculating mate for white and wondering how black is stopping it. I can just read it from her face that she's calculating. She's very excited by this position. She immediately wants to try and find mate, and she's wondering how can black defend this? And she's right. Black has no defense. Artemiev will resign now. But yeah, so g6 was not the best move. G6 was not the best defense.
Queen h6 is forced, no? He had to play queen h6, good or bad, because now bishop into g6 on the live board, or even bishop e4 works.
Oh yeah, bishop into e4. Very simple and
Artemiev has resigned. Yeah, this idea with rook f3, rook e1, rook f1, queen e1, queen h4, rook coming to h3, so powerful, so simple and powerful and clean, and just won the game for Aronian actually. Very nice.
Yes, absolutely. As Brishti says in the chat, queen h6 was the only move, and Saugata in the other chat has also been right throughout the broadcast today. So queen h6, but here how does white win? Once again, I think this is a question that the chat can solve. Some of the chat can solve. How does white win here? White to play, and the variation, the winning variation is, I think, a few moves long. It's not easy, but it's not too difficult either. And it's based on all the different weaknesses that black has in this position, which white exploits ruthlessly. Principle of several different weaknesses.
Shri asking very difficult questions today, because I'm also like really applying my mind in all the questions. They're not too obvious, I think. Today's questions are really tough. आज वो master class होता है ना, like usually the whole week you have some normal classes going on, और एक week में एक बार master class होता है, तो आज का master class है guys. Comparatively tougher questions, no?
Yeah, true. But Soumya, it's not without reason, because today, the whole thing has been, me asking questions to the chat, and they have been coming up with very good solutions for all the questions I've asked. So I've been progressively forced to make it higher, so that more of the chat keeps finding it. So even this question, if you look at it, Saugata Bose has pretty much nailed the correct answer. He has found the exact sequence I was expecting, but I was also expecting Brishti to get this right, but so far I haven't heard from her. But yeah, Artemiev did not play queen h6 because of queen into h6, g into h6, and now bishop into e4. After g into h6, the black king has been opened up. Yes, Abhijit Balal has also got it. Black cannot take rook into e4 because of rook into f7, and white has won a pawn. And if you take on e3, then white will take on c7. So for this reason, black has to take d into e4, and now rook g3 check. The king can go to h8, h7, or f8. If it goes to h8, it directly comes under the spin d5 check, and you can defend with knight e5, but at the very least white will win a pawn with rook f4 or bishop into e5, rook into f7. There are so many different ways for white to win. So king h8 is ruled out. King h7 is ruled out for the same reason. After d5, it's not a check, but this allows white to play rook g7, and this kills everything. So the only way for black to continue is with king f8. But now after d5, the knight is forced to move. And at the end, white at least has bishop b4 winning an exchange. Although white can also, win some pawns instead. So this is the reason why Artemiev didn't play queen h6, because it's hopelessly lost in any eventuality.
Yeah. By the way, Carlsen versus Ding has started and they are already into a middle game kind of position. Can we have a look there?
Yeah, we have the Magnus Ding. We have the Magnus Ding game on the screen, and Magnus is showing some kind of a magic where his hand disappears every few seconds and reappears. Now it's back. And I guess in a few seconds it will disappear again. So Soumya, the Caracan defense with the exchange variation.
Yeah,
Knight
exactly.
f6.
This bishop g4 stuff, I mean, I remember they play queen c7. One of the options was to play queen c7, which Ding goes for, with the idea to not allow bishop f4. So it's actually very subtle, yeah. Like after bishop b3, you're not allowing bishop f5. On the fourth move, white plays bishop b3, not allowing black to play bishop f5. And after c3, bishop g4, queen b3. Queen c7 not only defends the pawn on c7, b7, but also doesn't allow bishop f4. Maybe we can ask chat what happens. Yes.
Yeah. This is, I think, a perfect question. Black to play.
So guys, what happens after bishop f4, queen f4? Can white and queen b7? Is white winning an exchange? या black के पास कुछ ऐसा है जो white ने miss कर दिया और बहुत ज़्यादा regret किया?
Actually, I have a better way of phrasing that question, but that might be a bit of a spoiler, so I'll phrase it after I receive some answers from the chat.
Nice, good stuff.
Yeah, Vishal, a lot of people have found it. So what I was going to ask is, does white win an exchange or does it end like one of VD's games? And the answer is, it does end like one of VD's games. Queen into b7 and queen c1 is checkmate.
Have you ever missed a mate in one?
Not in a classical game.
Yeah, in a classical game only. You haven't?
No.
So my opponent once missed a mate in one on me in a world team championship. It was a very crucial game. And she missed a mate in one on me, and she was still winning actually. And then I managed to finally draw the game. I was so happy.
Who was your opponent?
Oh, my opponent actually was a very strong chess player, international master Nino Kurtsidze. Unfortunately, she's no more, but she was a very, very strong grandmaster from Georgia, and we were playing the Georgian team. And it was a very important game for us. And yeah, she somehow missed this mate in one. It's actually very it's something that doesn't happen often. That's the reason chat के लिए, just to tell the chat, ये सब बहुत ही rare होता है कि आपके opponent आप पे mate in one miss कर दे. And I remember once in Kramnik versus Topalov match, Topalov missed a mate in two on Kramnik. In their world championship match.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
And these things are so rare that you always remember them. You can never forget it. So.
Yeah, reminds me of this recent game Magnus Carlsen had. In one of his blitz games that he was streaming, and at this point, Magnus actually played knight f6. And chat, how does white win here? Brishti, you're not allowed to answer this. And Saugata, you too. So this is a popular trap which we see in the beginner's book.
This is Samay's favorite trap. Hint. This is Samay's favorite trap, guys. ये white से ये black से उसको उस Budapest Gambit में आते रहता है ये trap. Oh my God, Samay loves to play that Budapest Gambit.
I know, and it's not
So
just
proud
Samay's
of it.
favorite.
Yeah.
But also Joel, who actually joins me for the learning chess series on Chess 24 India. Like, did you know that? So we used to have this weekly learning chess series in Chess 24 India. It was a lovely little thing. I would teach someone chess and for 45 minutes, and then the next 45 minutes they play against the Discord members of Chess 24 India. So every week they get a chance to play against either Joel or Angad or Nihaya and so many other guests. And this exactly happened in one of Joel's games with the Discord. He played knight f6 here. And Joel, right? He goes on about, he's like the AD, he's like AD version of, he's like the 1400 version of AD. So he was
I know.
Like,
Joel and AD की जोड़ी मतलब रब ने बना दी जोड़ी is, made for each other.
So, he was going like, how he's a Caro-Kann expert, and like he played only 4 moves, but he spoke 400 words about how he's a Caro-Kann genius. And then he ended up playing knight f6 in that particular game, and his opponent immediately played knight d6 and Joel lost that game. To his credit, he immediately rematched and won the next game, but it was still a hilarious moment. So I think Samay will be happy that he managed to teach this trap, which people used to beat Joel, his eternal rival.
So the game went in a completely different direction, right? The game went after
Yeah. Please take us through it. Where would you like to continue from?
Yes, so after ED-CD, this is the Caro-Kann exchange and bishop d3, knight f6, c3, bishop d4, queen b3, queen c7. यहाँ तक हमने game देखा and we were discussing how bishop f4 doesn't work here. So knight e2 was played with the idea to play bishop f4 on the next move. So that is white's idea. Black took on bishop e2 with the bishop e2 and e6. अभी black ने अपना light square bishop दे दिया है, so he can put his pawns on the light square and create a very strong center. He will next go bishop d6. So after knight d2, he puts his bishop on d6, bishop and queen forming a battery on the b8 h2 diagonal, making it difficult for white to make a castle. So white goes knight f3, supporting the h2 pawn. Next move, short castle karenge, knight c6. And here actually, instead of playing short castle, white played g3 because he does not intend to castle short. g3, h5, bishop e3, long castle, and white also went long castle here. यहाँ पे knight a5 खेला black ने, pushing the queen back to c2 and also threatening knight c4. Queen c2, knight c4 in, bishop g5. White has a pair of bishops, but position इतनी open नहीं है, इसलिए the bishop pair doesn't necessarily give white an advantage because the center is closed and the knight and black's knight on c4 is actually very, very strong. So after bishop g5, black played king b8 and white took on c4 with the bishop. I think that knight on c4 is so annoying कि Magnus को लगा छोड़ो bishop दे देते उस knight के लिए, much more comfortable position लेके खेलेंगे. And then Magnus played knight e5. So now bishop e5 is impossible because of pawn into e5 and the knight is pinned. Or exchange चला जाएगा basically. So knight e5, queen c7 back, king b1, rook c8, bishop f4 खेला यहाँ Magnus ने क्योंकि इस diagonal पे रखना actually काफी अच्छा होगा, and if he can maintain the knight on e5, he will have some pressure on black's position.
There is also a tactical threat here, yeah. It's a trap actually. A very nice trap also set by white. There's a tactical idea, which again maybe the chat can find. White to play what is black's threat, which explains why black played the move he played.
Yeah, white to play what is white's threat, yeah? If white...
Yeah, white to play. If it is white to play, what is white's threat here? Did I say what is black's threat? Did I mix things up?
That's fine. It's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, chat. Magnus has blended mate in Caracon in a bullet game once, also in like 7 moves. Yeah, yeah, these things happen. Yeah. Uh, Anurag Naren has a sweet message for us, Soumya. Thanks for the commentaries every day. Really helped my online reading. Thank you, Anurag. It's also a pleasure for us to commentate with you guys. You guys project such lovely positive energy.
Also find very nice moves like knight f7 in the position, which has been found by a lot of people in the chat. So knight at f7 is a nice trap. क्योंकि bishop f4 के बाद rook on h8 will be hanging and white will be an exchanger. और अगर queen into f7 मारा तो bishop on d6 is hanging and white will be a pawn up with a great position. इसीलिए black ने खेला rook h d8 so that after knight f7 you can take the knight on f7 because now the bishop on d6 is protected. And after rook h e1, overprotecting the knight on e5, bringing your rook into the game, the last piece of is brought into the game. Now all of white's as well as black's pieces have been developed, so to speak. Black ne khela king a8, removing the king from this diagonal. Actually, it's a very good move, I would say, because you always need to worry about this bishop being on f4 and looking at the black king on b8. So it's always better to go to the corner and hide. Really nice move there by Ding, prophylaxis dikhate hue. And white plays queen e2, attacking the pawn on h5. Maybe he can go bishop g5 sometime, or he can play rook c1 and c4 as well. Queen e2 के बाद a6 खेला and actually white went for this rook c1 idea. Now he's actually threatening c4 and black needs to take a decision. What do you think?
Black needs to decide how he counters the c4 idea, and he has just shown us how by just taking bishop at d5. The knight was controlling the c4 square, and black immediately takes it in order to uh, get control of the c4 square and prevent white from playing c4. I think this game is also not going to have much dynamic action in the near future, yeah, because to have dynamic action, you need to have pawn breaks in the position, and here almost all the pawn breaks have been neutralized. Just now, white was threatening c4, and black just neutralized it with bishop at d5, and next the queen will come on c4. So I think the position is around E1, but I think Magnus has maybe a very, very slight pressure. Meanwhile, the fourth game of the final has begun, Soumya.
Wow. So Aronian is leading the match and Artemiev has another day, by the way, but still he would like to save this day as well and actually equalize the match by winning this game. He is white. He's got his chance. And he goes for the Trompowsky system with 2 bishop g5. Nice, nice. I like Artemiev's choice of opening.
Interesting. And yeah, so the Trompowsky has been played a few times by against Aronian and against Trompowsky, which is after d4 knight f6 bishop g5. Let's put the position on the board so it's very clear. And here there are many different lines which black can respond with. Like there is knight e4, there is e6, there is c5, there is g6. But Aronian, he always goes to d5, which is the main line and one of the most solid systems against the Trompowsky. So d5 takes control of the center. As black, you're not worried about the shattering of the pawns with bishop into f6, g into f6, because then you get a very robust center. You can go c5 and it gives full compensation. So a lot of games have gone in this direction. Very interesting fresh positions. One of the popular games here was between Magnus Carlsen and Sergei Karyakin in the first game of the World Championship match. Apart from that, white also has setups where he doesn't take bishop at f6 immediately, but simply goes knight d2. And now after c5, e3, c into d4, e into d4. Two questions for you, chat. None of them related to direct tactical moves, which you are seeing really well these days. The questions, which pawn structure formation is this? What is it called as? That is the first question. Second question, if you had to relate this to a 1 e4 opening, which opening would it be? In which opening does this pawn structure arise the most from? Since you are VD's chat, a lot of you, I'm sure all of you are VD's fans. So I really expect you to get the answer for the second question right. So first question, what is this pawn structure called? Second, if this opening had come from 1 e4, what is the most likeliest opening it came from based on the pawn structure? And if you can get good at detecting different pawn structures, then you'll get really good at understanding openings in general, because although there are a lot of openings in chess, the amount of pawn structures in chess much more limited. So once you get the hang of it, once you start noticing patterns within the pawn structure, you will start noticing things better, and you'll be able to play a lot more openings in general, because then you don't have to know the openings concretely, but you will start looking at the general ideas. Soumya, how are the answers in the chat?
No, I think Shabajot Singh got it right, one of the answers, and I see Fazet Fine also getting it right. But I think it's a very difficult question. I'm just like a little surprised that some of
I gave a huge clue. I gave a huge clue that they are fans of VD. Just based on that, they can guess.
I think
And Mihir Shah has found it. So has Pranav Karve.
Yeah. So yeah, some of them did find it, and kudos really, because I think it's very hard to understand pawn structures in chess. And once you reach that level, then that means you're already playing at a good level. So yeah, it is the Carlsbad structure, and it is a structure that we also reach from the Caro-Kann opening. That is true. Exchange Caro-Kann.
Yeah, true.
Very
Bishop
nice.
G4, Knight F3, E6, and now after H3, Black loses the pair of bishops. Almost by force, yeah. Like what happens after Bishop H5, Soumya? Why is Black choosing to give Bishop into F3? Why not Bishop H5?
I'm obviously looking at tactics because that's the first thing I look for.
No, I don't, not looking at any specific tactic here. Meanwhile, an update on the Magnus Ding
I
match.
actually
It
think
has. Sorry, Soumya?
I actually think there is a tactic on the board. No, like after Bishop H5, just give a check on B5 and play G4 and Knight E5. It's not so easy, no?
Yeah, exactly. That is true. This Bishop B5 check is very powerful. I did not see this. So Bishop B5 check, Black has to go Knight C6, and after G4, Bishop G6, Knight E5. If this knight was on D7, this would be directly losing because of the pin. One of the knights is lost. So Knight C6, G4, Bishop G6, Knight E5, and this also winning in some way? But in general,
I don't think it's winning because Black has this Queen B6 idea and attacking the Bishop on B5, but it is very good for White. No, after Queen E2, let's say Queen B6, Queen E2. I mean,
yeah.
I was so happy to get this position as White. So that's the reason Black wants to just give up the Bishop on F3 and complete his development fast and secure his king.
Yeah. Also in general, this G4 Knight E5 is very powerful in a lot of different such positions. That is why H3, Bishop into F3. Saugata is asking, isn't this the reverse of Carlsbad structure? What is your answer on that?
I actually don't look at structures as reversed or not reversed. No, structures are the same with whichever side you see it from. So
exactly. Yes, the structures are the same. So whichever side you see it from. That's why I didn't call it reverse, but you could say that actually, because practically we see practically we see it mostly from the white side. Yeah. So
Yeah, we have seen a lot of Carlsbad structures in the CCT and Challenges Chess Tour as well, actually.
yeah, true. The Julius Bar Challenges Chess Tour, which will also continue in July, by the way. A very exciting event. It's going to see a radically different field with a lot of new faces, because a lot of the existing faces are playing in the World Cup. So that is going to be a very interesting tournament and a lot of opportunities for a lot of new kids. Queen C7. Is a pawn worth the bishop pair generally? Usually no. Because usually pawns are valued a lot, and especially with it, since this is with its channel, pawns are worth even more.
Yeah, it completely depends on the position. Yeah, I mean, these are things which you cannot really say generally, but yeah, of course, generally the reason why pawn is 1 point, rook is 5 points, bishop is 3 points is because if all other things remain equal, then they are very valuable. But it depends on the position on the board. In some positions, you can give up a whole rook, you can give up an exchange because you get a great attack. In some positions it would be simply a blunder, so it depends.
Yeah, true. It depends on the specific position.
Queen c7 on the
Yeah,
board, I'm expecting queen e2 and long castle, but even short castle would be fine. Let's see what Artemiev does. Yeah, he goes short castle. Actually, Artemiev is such a classical player. I don't know why I thought he would go long castle.
because you just saw it in the Magnus Ding game in a very similar position.
Yeah, and also long castle seems very tempting, no? Because black is going to play on the king side. So just to avoid any kind of king side attack, you just go long castle, yeah?
Yeah, true. But in this exchange caravan types of questions, I can only relate it to the exchange caravan based on the pawn structure, because those are the most familiar questions from here, the most similar ones. And in these exchange caravan questions, I just think uh, short castle is a lot more common. And now rook c1 and white tries to break with c4. Meanwhile, Mihir Shah is like, that bishop b5 check, knight c6, g4, bishop g6, knight e5. It's the engine shows minus 0.1, but the point is Aronian does not know this, yeah, and he cannot evaluate it as minus 0.1. But to a human, this doesn't look savory, so he takes bishop into f3 and goes into a simpler position. So that exactly explains his decision. And yeah, b4. This is exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, this was my question. Why did he play rook c1? He could have started with b4. You don't know whether you need the rook on c1 or not. No, you anyway need to play b4. Just start with b4. I was so surprised seeing rook c1 on the board. But okay, I mean, not criticizing the players, but just like for me, it's very strange that he chose to go rook c1 first. Let's see. Because after b5, black can play knight a5 and you don't have c4 so easily. So I would have definitely chosen to go b4 first and see what black is doing and then decide where to put my rook. Because the rook could be useful on a5. Like what if I go a4, a5 and then b5? Then the rook is so useful on a1.
Yeah, true. I think you make a very interesting point that it was better to keep this flexibility going. But what I think White is trying to do is he wants to get c4 in, but maybe he's waiting for b5, knight a5, and then go c4 after some knight e5. Meanwhile, once again, we have that amazing moment of the day when the question to all the when the answer to all the chat's question is answered. Where is VD? Where is VD? Hearts. Where is VD? Where is VD? Where is VD? Here he is.
Hi guys,
What a
what's up?
surprise! I
Hi,
had no
hi,
idea
hi,
you were
hi.
talking.
You
Hi.
were confused. Why before? Why Ruxion? So I thought, okay, I'll join in.
Yeah, why
Why
rook
before?
c1? Would you play rook c1 in this position, or would you start with b4?
No, I just
And
joined in, to be honest. I have no clue what was happening. I just followed the games very, like, on the surface level. And I saw that Artemiev was winning in round two, that end game. But he managed to make
Yeah.
a draw, like Levon defended well. He tricked him actually. And after that,
Were
I haven't
you
seen.
watching my illustrative and enlightening explanations of the Artemio and Aronian endgame, or
For
just
some
watching the
while,
games?
for some time. But then I fell asleep, so. No, no, just kidding.
Thank you, really.
Just kidding. No, I watched for some time, and then because I find it very hard to multitask. So if I'm listening to something and doing my practice, then I find it very hard. So then I had to just like watch the games after it was over. So I watched your commentary for some time where you're asking about this knight f7 move and stuff like this. I think that point. You're
Yeah.
promoting your course. When Soumya joined in,
You
then
don't
she
have to watch the
disappeared.
stream to quote that.
No, but like you, Soumya joined in that time. You're promoting the course, something like that.
Yeah. I believe you know.
Yeah.
so
Wow, I
this
have to justify
position,
watching this.
ये position क्या लगता है? Like g5 or g4 coming in. Would you play a move like knight d2 here?
No,
Do
knight d2
some
feels
practice?
slow. Knight d2 feels slow. Like e5 will come and something along those
Hmm.
lines, or even g4 and then rook g8.
So maybe go b5 and go knight e5, give up that pawn because anyway king
Yeah,
take it.
yeah. That's more in the spirit of the position, I would say. Yeah, I like this actually. To be honest, let's go b5 and knight e5. Let's play like this. Now maybe
Yeah.
you take go knight d7.
Take knight d7 and
Oh, b5 has been played on the board, and Levon has such a huge time advantage. 14 minutes against 6 minutes. That's a
that
lot,
has
no?
been the story of this match so far
Ah,
between
really? Yeah.
Artemiev and Aronian. Yeah. Even in the second game, when Artemiev was winning this piece with that knight into f7 again, Artemiev had only 1 minute while Aronian had 8 minutes, and that is why Artemiev couldn't convert it. He just didn't have enough time.
No, I think that's Lemon's strategy in this tournament in general. Like I see him having more time on the clock throughout the CCT in this edition. By the way, knight e5 and knight c4 is a very valid option for black, I think.
Yeah, 95 knight c4 is a very valid option for sure. Although with this knight on e5, you have to watch out for some queen f3 related stuff. In general, it's a general thing. I'm not sure if it works after bishop into c4, d into c4, and now queen f3. But this
Or
needs to
even
be.
uh-huh.
This is a problem, I think.
He's taking so much time to play 95. That's what bothers me. Maybe he's not feeling the rhythm yet today, yeah? Because I don't see any other move apart from 95, which maybe c4, but yeah, it doesn't feel completely correct. I mean, is there any other move apart from 95? Why is he thinking?
I guess, yeah, c4 is the only other move. c4, d into c4, and here there's no, maybe some knight d2 here.
No, this doesn't feel right. This feels wrong. This
Yeah,
feels wrong.
but
Plays
he
knight
he he
d2.
goes for that.
He
He
goes
goes
knight
for
He
d2
knight
goes.
d2.
before c4.
Right, before c4. Now the question is, do you stop knight c4 or you play for your own attack with g4? And I feel Levon will take time here. So we have 2-3 minutes, I feel. That's my prediction. He'll think for 2-3 minutes in this question.
It's like one of the first major decisions he has to take, yeah? Choosing an entire direction.
Right. Ideally, considering the match situation, knight c4 would be the first thing which will come to his mind. And but the problem is, there's a trick. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and then queen to a4, threatening to take on c4, and if rook c8, then d5.
Your voice
Hello.
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
gone. See, Soumya, this is why I told you first that you are imitating me.
Oh
Wait,
my.
am I the one disconnected?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
I can hear Siri very well and you are the one.
Both of them got disconnected. No, I'm the one who got
How can
disconnected.
we both get disconnected if we can hear each other well? And you're like, what is this logic?
Because you're from a similar location.
So we are just too loud, huh? We can just hear each other. What is this logic?
I'm sorry, but with video around, I don't expect others to get disconnected, so you can understand why I got confused. So takes
Understandable,
queen a4.
but you're wrong. Has been played, yeah, on the board.
Yeah, it has been played.
Rook c8 has
And
thought
rook c8 also
d5.
played.
d5.
d5, you just defend this mate in one, yeah?
Yeah, you play b6.
Yeah, b6, or I was even, yeah, so b6 makes the most sense.
Yeah, takes, d, fe. Oh, this, everything is happening, yeah? Wow. Now the problem for white is what to do next.
Sorry. That was,
Knight.
I was just testing if my mouse was working. But yeah, knight f3 doesn't look bad, yeah? Knight d4, knight c6 is coming in.
Yeah, but knight f3, I thought I'll just play either g4 or e5. e5 looked safe.
e4, knight d4, I was thinking. But maybe I'm just burning too much in my quest to get the knight to c6, yeah?
Yeah, gh3.
If you get checkmate, you get
GH3,
checkmate.
knight
So that's
c6 check.
It's just that it might not happen.
King 8 and now g into h3.
King 8 and all good.
But this
He has gone for
the
knight
rook
f3.
was on
So he
D1.
does,
Yeah,
he
just
does
look at the ugly rook on
take my
C5.
prescription.
We are back with the prescriptions. But now Levon might play
Sorry?
e5.
Oh my god.
That's what I
Let's
thought as well.
just see this rook on C1. It's doing literally nothing. So if he had saved a move there, his rook would have been on D1 now, and in that line that you was showing, we would have had rook D6 in the end.
Wow. Meanwhile,
See, I'm
knight f3,
telling you,
g4.
this rook C1 idea, I just feel like it's so premature to commit the rook to C1. But okay, let's see how white is going to do.
Brishti is asking mod of g4 instead of f into e6. What do you think with it?
Oh.
Do you think this was valid? Or maybe it's a bit unnecessary, yeah? Because if you can get something without a pawn, then why would you give a pawn?
But I think it was interesting at least, nonetheless.
Very nice.
It was interesting.
Like bishop d4 runs into gh3, bishop f6, and we have rook g8 here. We don't even need to give bishop h2 check.
Right. Meanwhile, with it, Brishti is a women candidate master and she's about 1900 FIDE. So she's not your average Joe.
And maybe we can continue this line. After g3, there is bishop into g3. And that would be checkmate on white.
Yeah.
So
this was an interesting line,
a
very interesting option. Are we all connected?
Very well connected. We have a great connection.
Yeah. So
what, Srinath? What did you say? Couldn't hear you. What? Huh?
Nice try with it. G4, knight D4, G into H3. Knight. This is on the board.
Wait. Look at the position.
Oh, he took H into G4 first.
And knight D4. Now what? What? Bishop A3?
Bishop G1. Bishop H2, Bishop G1 does
or Bishop A3 maybe? No, Bishop A3 doesn't work. Bishop A3 is bad because of knight C6 and Bishop F4. That is the brilliant idea. Brilliant trick in a way.
Oh, very nice.
Like Queen F4, Queen A7. But this looks suspicious, yeah? Let's think why. We know it's suspicious.
Yeah, chat. You can also try to find this for black. Black to play. I'll flip the board so it's easier for you. Black to play. Don't get any help. Try and find this for black to play. Why is the bar showing such a high evaluation? Why is the bar? Let's see if we can find it before Aronian. Let's go. The fastest finger contest, which can someday get you into the hot seat with VD.
Soumya, why are you laughing,
You guys
Soumya?
laughing so much.
Soumya, why are you laughing?
Why?
I just feel like it's so easy to turn this into PG-13, like, all of what Srinath says.
I mean, an innocent
Sorry, I'll
KBC
control my
reference.
mind.
An
I'll
innocent.
control.
Yeah, I mean, Soumya.
Soumya spoiled. Soumya spoiled.
Soumya is truly spoiled.
So knight c6, king 8, and now what? Bishop c5 is the threat.
I like, how Soumya suddenly starts to read out all the moves.
I know.
Like,
He does this.
Like after laughing and then like suddenly knight 6, bishop e5, king g7. Interesting. What a position. Like, that
It's like
nothing
how
happened.
you change the channel in the TV,
I have a question. Okay, this is also very good. I think everything works in this position. That's why he chose this bishop h2, bishop d1. But even bishop c5 was good. I think so.
Now I can't, comprehend Soumya's moves anymore. Like I feel she's just saying moves for the sake
Yeah,
of
because
it.
this is hanging, right? So when do you want bishop c5?
Right. That's the reason he didn't go for it. And he went bishop h2, bishop g1. And well, how does white defend? g3 is the only move, is it? But then you take
Yeah.
knight e3 and oh my god. Oh my god, what a disaster.
No, at least
He
queen
should
h3,
really
yeah, good enough for him. Yeah, he just needs to make a draw, if in the worst case.
Yeah,
But
true.
I
Wow.
don't know. I think the worst case seems like the best case also there. So.
Wow, is this
So
a
knight into
fourth game?
a3, maybe he will play something else here, yeah? Okay, but queen e4 is also at best a draw because knight into f1 and white can only... Oh, yeah, white can only make this draw because knight b4 check with the idea of knight a6 checkmate after king b8 wouldn't work because black can play this queen b7, forcing the
I think
exchange
that's
of
what will
queens.
happen. I think queen e4 and it will end in a draw. Again, Soumya is laughing. I don't know why. What happened, Soumya?
So
He's
I think
reading
this
the chat.
yeah, I was reading the chat. And also I think like this match, like it's amazing how fast this match got over, yeah. It's the fourth game
Yeah,
already.
true. True. So let's make this draw quickly because we have another game with another legendary opening
By the way,
happening in the Ding Carlsen.
very anticlimactic, no, the match like today. I just didn't feel the thrill. Maybe I was watching it from sidelines. I don't know. I didn't feel the tempo and the fight for the finals. Or maybe I just have too high expectations from the finals.
No, this
No, I think Swami, you go first.
no, actually, I also felt exactly the same. I just felt like the match got over so quickly. It's 7 p.m. and already they played 4 games, and we have actually a decisive result as well. It's not like they made draws or something. So Aronian winning the match. Yeah, I'm also surprised.
Yeah. Also, the players they give off some tired vibes. Yeah, I think you can feel the fatigue through their gameplay and moves. That is the impression I got, especially from Artemiev. He seems to be playing a bit slower than usual.
Yeah, I feel actually, there should be some rest days, without a doubt. Like any other sport, you don't see people playing on each day. Like even football, they have 3-4 days rest, like to recover physically. Okay, but I think mentally also you need to recover. You need time, um, and I think chess is the only sport where they don't have many rest days, from what I've seen.
They do, yeah, but just not in this format. In classical tournaments, we have rest days after every 3 games, right?
No, not every 3 games, only at the top level. But if you look at like
Silence
and
you. Your mic was off for a few seconds.
is it? I mean, I changed
Yeah,
the mic now.
yeah, it's back.
I don't
It's
know.
back.
Something strange happens to my mic.
I performed the counter course.
So I feel like there are a lot of things that should be changed. I was recently also talking and discussing that the classical chess should be of maximum 1 hour each and 30 seconds of increment. That's all. And you don't need more time than this, I feel, for classical chess. You keep classical chess, but this should be the time limit. 1 hour each, 30 seconds increment, no 40 moves business, nothing like that. The games will maximum last for 2-3 hours. And that's good enough time control, I think.
Wow,
Interesting.
really?
Your thoughts? Yeah, yeah.
You
Because
don't like this? You won't play in Aeroflot next year?
no, I think this is simply too long. What they have, like 2 hours for 40 moves. Okay, then you get another 50 minutes for the next 20 moves. After reaching 60 moves, you get another 15 minutes. मतलब क्या है? मतलब वहाँ पे सोना थोड़ी इतना इतना क्यों खेलना है?
No, but don't you think like the quality of the games improves or it doesn't affect it? Have you felt like, let's say, let's compare your own games from a tournament which has longer time control, let's say Isle of Man, Gibraltar, Aeroflot Open, Tata Steel. Let's
I
compare
think
your games.
there'll be a drop in quality somewhere, but sometimes blitz is just impossible to follow many times for like especially if it's a tournament like this where 10 people are playing. You can only follow one game at a time in blitz. In rapid maybe you can jump, but even now we find, right, like you might have noticed, like in the preliminaries it's very hard to focus on all the games. You have to stick to one game, then change after a few minutes. But in classical, if it's 1 hour, actually you can easily jump, so the people get time to think, and also commercially it's viable, I feel, to as a broadcast. I think people can watch it. Like a football game is 90 minutes and many people watch it, yeah, and then extra time it goes to 2 hours. So I think that's the sweet spot for classical chess.
Very, very interesting. I think what has changed is, I think we have started paying a lot of attention to how it feels to watch chess. Yeah, having watched chess for the last 2 years, and it's not just about how it feels to play chess anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, people have liked this online format, this rapid chess. So you have to, make changes accordingly. You cannot have the 6 hours long format. That's really ridiculous, I feel.
But don't you
Just
think
to,
like instead we could have three formats? Like, for example, in cricket, people do watch test matches. No, do you think uh, it's not of much use? It's not adding that much value.
people do watch it, but I feel we used to predominantly have only classical events. We never really had rapid or blitz events as much. But if the online chess has shown something in 1 year, it's time to listen to it, I feel, and make changes. Like previously, Test cricket also used to be of 6 days, then they made it of 5 days, for example. The ODI, like one day international, it used to be of 60 overs, or I think even more sometimes.
Yeah,
And
60
then they made
overs.
it to 50 overs. So, you have to make changes. You have to tune it. I'm not saying remove classical chess, but tune it. Don't make it extra
Yeah,
long.
I think what you're
I
saying
myself
makes a
don't
lot of
follow
sense.
6 hours games like at a stretch. I'll just watch it in between. I cannot watch it for 6 hours long, and that's a shame. Yeah.
And also, I think because of social media and internet, people's attention span has reduced drastically compared to the, let's say, if you compare it with 20 years ago. So that also, I guess, plays a role. People watching a show, any kind of show, chess or cricket, for one day entirely as compared to people watching it for 2 hours, the numbers will be drastically different.
Exactly. I mean, in China, when I play this Chinese league, they have the format of 1 hour 30 minutes for the entire game, and this 30 seconds increment is still there. So the problem with rapids is that this 10 seconds increment sometimes doesn't feel enough, but 30 seconds is good enough time for
30
so that
seconds
I
is a
don't
lot
play a
of
move like
time.
knight g3, for example, against Gukesh. So I to avoid that, I think it's decent. Like I think if I had 30 seconds increment, the game against Anish, for example, I would have calculated better. So 30 seconds is good. maybe it can be tuned even further. Like we can change something like 1 hour, and then maybe after 40 or 50 moves, you add 10 minutes, maybe. Not like half an hour or 30 minutes, half an hour or 50 minutes, but 10 minutes, so that you also get a restroom break, because because of how tense the game can be. I think it makes sense to have a restroom break.
Do you think there should be a timeout if you are in time pressure and you want to go to the restroom? I really think there should be an option.
Kamsky said once, that people should simply not be allowed to use the restroom. He told, like, in any other sport, have you seen people using restroom? No, right? So in chess also they should be allowed.
Tennis,
It's easy.
tennis you can take. No, there is a gap between sets and.
Okay. I was not sure, but I saw Kamsky tweeted this once, and it was hilarious. Like, I was like, no, I'll not sign up for this.
Yeah, we'll change up. Everyone will have to change their sport, I think. I mean, what are you supposed to do?
Diapers will see an increased sale, so people should start stocking.
Okay, Srinath. Okay, Srinath. Okay, let's not go there.
And what would you suggest for the existing Meltwater Champion Chess Tour format? Do you think the whole thing should be a little bit shorter?
One second, there is like Vedika's chocolates are being prepared in the background. Let me try to change the settings so that you don't hear the mixer grinder. 1 second.
Sure.
There was an interesting question in the chat. Like, we'll just take it because it was actually it's a valid question if you have never played classical chess, but just so amusing to read it. That Nairanjit asks, "Is there a scheduled break in classical chess games?" I think people would freak out. I mean, Kamsky doesn't even believe in giving a restroom break to players, and a scheduled break would completely freak all the professional players out because, external assistance is a very valid concern that most professional chess players have. And taking a break in between a game would increase those chances, no?
But in UAE, they have a break for namaz. Like
for prayers,
15 minutes. Yeah, there used to be break, and then I used to see all players talking to each other, chilling, like
there was a cafe. I even used to play foosball during the break, that they had a very good foosball table, which later became limited only to members only. But yeah. I used to play foosball in those 10 minutes as well.
I played in Gibraltar last year, and there was some power outage during the tournament. So twice the light went out, and we took like 1 hour break between the games, and we were all in the balcony standing waiting for our games to begin.
Interesting. That happens in Gibraltar too.
Yeah, the whole of Gibraltar basically lost power, so you couldn't do anything about it.
Well, there's a question on the Chess 24 India chat for you from Chris Keynes. The thoughts on few top players commenting on Abhi Mishra's achievement.
Wow, that's a very controversial topic, no, nowadays. So let me, I'll tell you what I know about. Okay, so I think Nepo tweeted about his title, like that they should have one open event at least in consideration when it's GM now. And it was obvious that he was referring to Abhimanyu's recent title, because he said considering the recent records or something. So it was clearly obvious that it was against him, even though he doesn't mention it specifically. And then what I saw is Abhimanyu replied today. I mean, I don't think he has replied, but somebody probably who handles his account has replied that, I'm in general a positive guy, and something like I should quote it as it is, quote verbatim. Otherwise, it would be wrong.
That would. Yeah, a lot has happened on that front, by the way. There are a lot of new developments. I think you should catch up. Even
So
Anish
the
has
thing is,
joined the fray.
he has written that thanks, I'm a very positive guy and would take that as a compliment to dazzle world champion challenger. On a lighter note, it would have made more sense to suggest these awesome suggestions when you were approaching your GM title. And I was like, wow, um,
I
it's
know, I know,
definitely
I know.
savage. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what I can say after that. And there was also some criticism for the interview which he did with Sagar, like his father.
Mhm.
But I actually saw the entire video, and I think people are reading too much into it. I feel just like his father really cares a lot, and he's very, very involved, and it has helped him. Yeah, it has really helped him to maintain this discipline and become what he is. So I think we should not read too much into it. And I felt like he's very involved, and he actually knows what's going on in chess. Um, he's very knowledgeable person, I felt, from that interview. So I wouldn't read too much into the pressure thing and stuff like this. At least it's too early to judge just from one video, I would say.
Yeah, I think in general, even I think it's a bit too. You can't judge things based on listening to a person for 30 minutes. Yeah, you get a very, very narrow perspective based on that. You see very little of that person, and there is so much more that we don't know about. So while it's okay to have some impression about it, it doesn't make sense to have a very strong opinion or perspective of a person or a thing based on what you just see for 30 minutes. I think that makes no sense at all in anything.
Yeah, and also like what he said, he used to analyze the games. He had like preconditions before going to any tournament. Like if you lost, he gave an example of losing with two bishops. Then they analyzed many of such games, and then only they went to the tournament. So it reminds me more of a coach who is very disciplined or strict rather than anything else. I think in sport you do have such you sometimes need such things as well. So that's why I said not to read too much into it and just take the good things. I saw that he's very dedicated, and a lot of effort has gone into him becoming the youngest grandmaster. So that's what I see from what
Does that
I
remind
could
you of any coach
see.
that you have had yourself? The level of intensity and dedication?
No, no. uh, I generally had very lenient coaches. And I mean, no, I'm not complaining at all. So I used to be like, the thing is, I already used to be emotionally a little bit fragile, and maybe if I had too much of a strict coach, maybe it would not work for me. I needed
Hmm.
something which was more
Balancing.
psychologically grounded coach. Yeah, like who would be more like a um, parent figure, when like if I lose a game to console and understand the emotions and the psychology behind it. So I needed that. So to each his own, yeah. Everyone needs different treatment.
True, true. That is absolutely true.
Everyone is saying Nepo replied, but I don't see the Nepo's reply. So I don't know.
I
Oh
saw
yeah,
it,
I
but
can.
it's too
Yeah.
much. Like it's like going so wild. I mean, I don't know if we need to get into the details now because they have replied to each other and it's like too
It's
much,
got
I
an
think.
ugly boy now.
I mean,
Um,
I don't know, like what is our business getting into those tweets, right? They're replying to each other. It's a personal conversation going on between them. I mean, why get into it? I don't know.
Um,
It
yeah, it's funny
have,
how it's going on.
yeah, let them
but
have
I
their.
think we can read out Anish's tweet on this
Hmm.
whole thing. The only solution I see, Nepo versus Abhi Blitz adoption challenge.
I usually believe in doing your own thing rather than bothering about what other people are doing. So I'm not. So concerned about their tweets. I mean, they're just writing to each other. No, it's okay. They can let them have their fun. What's there?
Yeah. Yeah, so I
But
think
people
we're gonna
love
end the
drama.
thread
I
with
get it. I get it. People love drama, and they're like, "Oh my god, drama! Let's go where all the drama is." You know?
it's not just
Magnus
people.
going on.
I think it's appropriate to end it with Anish's tweet. Yeah, the king of Twitter, as he's called. So
Also, we must not
Magnus,
miss Magnus versus Ding's final match. Magnus is leading the match, right, so far, and this is their fourth game. They have drawn 2 games, and Carlsen has won the first game. So Ding on the back foot, and E6 on the board actually.
Look at the time difference. Like Magnus has been blitzing out throughout the game, and usually he does this when he's like, he doesn't care so much. Yeah. For him now, this third and fourth place match, I feel he doesn't care. And even like in the qualifying rounds, preliminaries, in the last round, if he has already qualified, he would blitz out the rest of the games or just make a quick draw. And that's what I feel.
yeah, but he just took knight into a4 and allowed e6, and after this, it looks like white is suddenly better. The bishop is coming on to e6, the rook is coming on to c6, and later c7. All of this is coming by force, and black does not seem to have any way to prevent this, any possible way to prevent this. So e6, I think maybe Magnus, what could have Magnus missed though? Because after knight into a4, white was of course going to play e6, right? What else was white going to play? So what's happening here, Soumya?
I was actually reading the chat, so I don't know. I'm just seeing E6.
No,
I think
this
F
feels
E6.
like
Sorry, yes.
so
Go on.
this feels like better for white, no? Because this bishop would control, and it looks unpleasant. Like, but few moves ago, it did not feel so much. What went wrong?
Actually, even one more ago, it did not feel so much. No, just don't allow e6. Maybe king f8, king e7. Bring the king
Yeah,
forward.
exactly. Bring the king first and then go knight f4. Probably underestimated. I'll
Yeah,
see his
now he's
webcam.
thinking. Now he's thinking. He's basically done an MBL.
But what happens for something like b5 now? Because rook a6 is met with knight c5, and
Sorry, b5.
yeah, after e6, sorry,
E into
e6,
f7 check.
f6, bishop. No, e6, bishop f8,
Okay.
bishop
Where does the
e6,
king go?
king f8. And I was just thinking about rook c6 and b5. I made the moves on my board and didn't realize that you don't have them on yours. So I just coolly asked you.
Can you please take me through it?
So e6, fe6, bishop e6, king f8, rook into c6. I think this is, so far it's all forced. And then now b5, like with the idea to play after rook a6, we have knight c5. Or rook c7 is the problem, is it? Oh, the game has gone in a different direction, by the way. He did not take on e6.
Yeah, he did not. No, black did not take on e6. True. He played king f8, e into f7, and b5. Actually, this is what I thought you were referring to initially, because black does not want to allow this rook onto the c file, c7 and c8. And after bishop e6, he has c5, but maybe white will just go bishop b3. But in any case, white will want to keep this pawn on f7. He wouldn't want to give it up in that easily in any circumstance. Yeah. So bishop e6 seems the appropriate move, and now c5. And how does this continue? Are you thinking, calculating?
No.
Or am I disconnected?
No,
I was reading Twitter.
Yeah, I was also. Because apparently a lot more happened. Chat is like,
guys.
Yeah, I didn't know about it.
I'm not even on Twitter. तो मुझे ये stream पे आके पता चलता है कि ये tweet हुआ है. फिर Twitter पे जाओ, फिर search करो. I mean,
All right, guys. I think you can carry on the stream. We don't really need LCV. I'll just be back in a 30 minutes or so for the final comments. Thank you.
It's okay, Srinath. We ignore you every day for different reasons. It's fine. Today you at least have variety for some spicy masala drama, you know. So you don't need to be so. You don't need to take it personally today. It's not you.
it's them.
Yeah, it's not you. It's them.
Thank you, Vidit. Does this work for you?
What worked for me?
Oh, never mind. No.
Oh, you're carrying on.
Carry on. Yeah.
We were on.
Carry on whatever you're doing.
So
I'll be back because we don't really need to move the pieces around with the current topic.
No, actually the game is also very interesting, and we might see too many interesting things happening at once.
Oh my god.
So how about we first finish the game and then we address this later?
Right. And actually,
does it work?
Or we address in between, you know, we should throw in 1 or 2 comments in between so that the people who are on drama also stay for the entire stream. So we just throw in 1 or 2 remarks in between and then move to chess and, like, you know, leave them on a cliffhanger. So regarding the tweet, but there is Rook C7. You know, Rook B7 is coming.
Oh my god, it's like having Anish. Work done with Anish, finally seeing some fruit.
Hey, yeah, this Bishop H5 plan is so strong. I don't know how Black is defending actually. King is.
Oh, I didn't see Bishop H5, Rook E6 actually. I didn't see that.
The Bishop H5 moves.
How is he stopping B3, B2?
It's so strong that it almost feels like a tweet. Bishop H5 and Rook E6.
Oh my god, it's actually checkmate. Oof. Oh, so Bishop H5, he has to play King E7, yeah? He cannot just ignore...
I think he has to take King into F7 now, no? He has to take this pawn.
Yeah. So let's just show that after Bishop H5, if you play King E7, there is a move like F5. So you don't really stop Rook E6.
Yeah, like AD says about 1B3. You can hide from it, but you cannot really stop it.
Oh, but now B2 might be very effective because after Rook E6, we have a move like King D7.
Wait, guys. How did this happen? And I mean the chess thing, not the Twitter thing.
We have a lot of time and we have been discussing the game.
How did the king go to D7?
She played King E7 in between after Bishop H5.
Here you played King E7. But now can't I give check and go E5, E6, E7?
That is strong. So King
that's a checkmate actually. Srinath, you should show the checkmate, no? Just for the fun. Oh, but Magnus has given the B pawn. Something has happened in the game.
Oh, he's given the B pawn and not taken the F7 pawn. But he has distracted the rook. He has been playing fetch with the rook. And he says, rook, go and take my B. Oh, why did not play Bishop H5 at all?
Exactly.
But why not? Why not?
Because
Bishop H5 was winning. It's +5. He missed this. Ding missed Bishop H5 completely. This actually happened.
In this position.
Yeah. He did not play Bishop H5. Instead, he went Rook C7 and Bishop H5 is apparently +5.
What happens for King E7? Because he played Rook C7 to prevent King E7.
King E7, E5 is very strong, as VD pointed out. No, but everything wins here. F5 wins, Rook C7 wins, E5 wins.
Rook C7, I thought the idea was to go King D6, right? So...
Yeah, but you know that variation we were discussing with F5, B2, Rook E6 check, King D7, Rook E8. And I think this should also win for some reason.
Rook D8, you queen, take on G7, everything, yeah? You collect the house.
And then ultimately it's against the knight with the bishop.
All right.
It's just a matter of finding a good shelter for the king.
Wait, but the Indian bar still liked it at some point, no? Maybe
Because
Rook
it was
C2
plus
was
5.
wrong. No, maybe after Rook C2.
When? In the game you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, Rook C7, B2, Rook B7, Knight C3 takes A4, and now
Here
it's
maybe
not
instead of Rook C2 something.
Yeah. The
Wow.
same idea.
Magnus
same
escapes
idea.
here. Bishop H5 again?
Yeah.
Oh, again, yeah. A3. So it's like just like life, yeah. You get another chance, yeah. Always. You always have a second chance.
Well, not always, not everyone.
Srinath, let's not go into your past history again, yeah, Srinath. That's not the time. We already have a lot of drama today. We don't need that extra drama.
Oh, I see VD's tweet also. No TV series or movie can match the drama which sports can give.
Arey, but that was for football.
Okay. This tweet was about that.
That was
I
for
had
football.
no idea.
It's open to interpretation, I think.
Oh my god.
I was watching Euro semi-finals last night, guys. It was regarding that. Man, how it just shows how if you put anything in social media, it can be picked without context. And then, you can take any tweet of mine and put it into any situation and it will sound worse. Damn.
And Anish has also put a GIF saying drama. Yes, we want drama. We want drama. GIF. Funny stuff.
But wherever there is drama, Anish is there. He's like a magnet to the drama. He's always there. He has to follow all this.
Oh,
Indeed,
come on,
indeed.
Didi. You put up one more GIF. Oh, come on, Didi. You have put up. Oh, whom are you trying to fool by saying
No,
that?
but that was in the morning. That I knew. That I retweeted him. No, I was like, oh my god, like it's spicing up. That was the thing I put. After that, not for the.
Acha, nice save, huh? Nice. We definitely need to address VD's tweet. I think we need to discuss it a little more.
Absolutely. I'm quote tweeting it as we speak now.
But I think like all the chess drama, these things last for 1 or 2 days, and then everyone forgets about it. Like most of the
That's
people
not specific to chess,
At
no?
some
Every
point,
social media drama, generally it lasts for 3 days from my statistical
Exactly, and it
analysis.
takes up all your 3 days. Like, why to even bother about it? Like,
No, if you remember this cheating incident, it was a big thing. And then, after 2-3 days, nobody cares. Everybody has got on with their lives and nobody really cares.
Exactly.
So it's all the chess drama is fun for like 1 or 2 days, I feel. Unless you are the one who is involved, then you get like, a little bit, it drags you on. But as a spectator, it's there only for like 2-3 days maximum.
Your chat is like so efficient. They have put up links in the chat, for me. Like, they're really nice people. ये देख लो फिर इसका भी देख लो फिर इसका भी देख लो.
But people love drama, I've seen. Really. Like we might show the most beautiful variation. I can show you what dream I had. Like yesterday I showed this portion. But this drama you can't beat. This is just people
But
love
are
such
you
stuff.
a fan of drama? Like for me, like okay, I want to ask you: are you a fan of drama? Like, are you attracted
Like
to
what
drama?
is drama? What drama? Like give me an example of a drama.
ये जो drama, हाँ मतलब जो भी ऐसा अरे hot topic, let's discuss.
No, it's interesting for me because it's interesting how people react to things. And some people, like for example, I've seen Nepo do such tweets all the time. Like if he has had bad tournament about some Hamburg or something, I saw he tweeted about it. So also when we won the Olympiad, he tweeted about this. So I just know that Nepo, like he's just this is not his first time, let's say. And then That's so I like to read into people's mind, how they think, like how Anish now, for example, is making joke about everything. For him, it's not about the drama or something. For him, he has to be funny. That's his thing. So how people try to be witty and then all this
No,
stuff. So I
for
like
him, he has to get the retweets.
exactly. And someone would make a diss track. For him, it's a content. So it's very interesting how people react. I like the psychology behind it. And of course, it's interesting. Something or the other is happening in the world. So, it's a nice change from the boring life sometimes. But I don't like obsess over it. Yeah. Just I know funny, ha ha ha, and move on. That's type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting situations where you don't know what comes next. I think that those are the most interesting situations. So here we see that Magnus is going to win this. So this doesn't feel that interesting. But when there is something we look forward to, something that connects with us and we don't know what comes next, I think that is always interesting. Neuroscience of drama with Dr. Sid.
But don't you think like it occupies so much time and energy, and why to bother? Like, let's just get on with our lives. This kind of, don't you feel?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like, um, like for example, there were a lot of comments when this cheating incident happened. People were messaging me. I was not even there on the stream. I didn't even know what has happened. I went to take vaccine that day. Okay, so I was doing that, and people started to write all kinds of nonsense on Twitter. Oh, he's not giving any comments. He's not even sharing his opinion. I was like, didn't even know what has happened. But people can form any kind of opinion on social media and then they push it as if it's the truth. So here I always give people the benefit of doubt, on social media. We don't know the actual truth. Like that day people were writing, oh, he doesn't want to give comment, he wants to stay away from controversy, whatever it is. But the fact was I had a very busy day. I was packing Vedika's chocolates, then I had to go and take vaccine. So I was very involved with my own life. But yeah, people draw things out of context and make things bigger than they actually are.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And actually, what you said, there was one more point that I really like, that on social media, it's always better to give benefit of doubt because, for example, a lot of people, like when they see our stream, they feel they know us so well, yeah, but it's not. It's just one part of us. It's just one aspect of the many things that we do. But yeah, it's so hard to. I mean, ये सब कहाँ लिखते बैठेंगे ना? So I'm sure other people also are doing so many things in their life, and there are so many things going on. But um, as a third person, it's I think very it's better not to judge them so fast.
Exactly. Like if you take any 2-3 sentences from this stream and you clip it, and
Yeah,
if you don't know the context, it
yeah.
will be weird anyways. So it's like you're taking an edited part of someone's life and judging them on the basis of that. So
Like the tweet I just made, yeah.
so have fun, but leave it as it is there. Sorry.
I mean, like the tweet I
Sorry,
just
Srinath.
made, yeah.
Yeah, Srinath, you want to please follow Srinath guys on Twitter. At least someone please follow him. Please give him likes and retweet. Please. Poor guy. Or buy his course. Please do something for Srinath.
I think bias courses would be what I would take.
Mohit Bhatt says every game I followed in the last 2 days. Mohit Bhatt, shout out to you. You are the only one talking about chess in the chat. So big shout out. And he says every game I followed in last 2 days had the same story. Someone gets huge advantage and then makes a blunder. क्या है आपका इस पे ख्याल?
I think not just the last 2 days, no. I think last 5 days.
Rapid is, but it's about rapid also, no? Like rapid online and schedule, tough schedule, everything together makes it very difficult, no, to not make mistakes.
I think in general, why we feel the magnitude of the mistakes more is first of all, we see the engine bar. Okay. And when it fluctuates, we expect people to play the best move, and it's never going to happen because of the human fallacy. In classical, you at least have time to calculate and be more accurate. But in rapid or blitz, the fluctuations are going to be more. And that's why if you're watching just with the bar in sight, we would think that, oh, so many mistakes happen at the top level. They play like so stupidly. But it's just the nature of the game that you can't play the best moves like Engine. You can't compare. Like the Engine's strength is 3600 ELO. And you expect 2700, 2800 grandmasters to play like that level in rapid. Forget classical. So how is that going to happen? So there are going to be mistakes. It's just a part of the game, I feel. That's why people lose. Yeah? If they don't make mistakes, how will there be any result? So it's just part of the game, I feel, the mistakes. But yeah, sometimes there are some mistakes which are too easy. Like I might have blundered in one move, knight g3 against Gukesh, for example, just gave up the knight. So those mistakes are definitely, different than normal. Like let's say Artemiev was winning the endgame against Aronian today, the bishop endgame, he was extra pawn, but it's not like he blundered there. To win that game, he has to be precise. And to be precise, he has to calculate variations to a certain extent. And it's not easy with just half a minute on the clock. So if this game ends in a draw, it's logical in some ways or the other, because Levon is asking him questions. He's trying to pose problems. And to win, Artemiev needs to be precise. But he has thought a lot before and he can't do it. So it ends in a draw. So it's kind of logical in that sense. But some mistakes are like in just one move you throw away the entire game. So that's different, I would say.
Right. So with those insightful insightful words, we have a wrap up to the today's games. Aronian has won the first.
The games. Oh, there were games today. Oh, I didn't know about it. We rarely spoke about it.
With it, we are having a good chess stream for the first 3 hours. All chess, all chess, all chess. And then the minute you came, chess went completely out of the window. It was almost like having AD back.
Yeah, today I think we did. Because the thing was, Aronian thing was the main focus of the match. And then when we joined Aronian Artemiev, it was already over. Yeah, like when we were discussing that. But then Magnus thing, the interest level was low because it's for third, fourth place. And the drama, Twitter drama began.
But we did find nice stuff like Bishop H5. So it wasn't entirely non-chess. Yeah. So meanwhile, Aronian has won the first set of day 1 of the finals against Artemiev 2.5, 1.5. So in tomorrow's second set, Artemiev has to win their 4-game match in order to equalize and enforce a tiebreaker. And in the Ding Liren Magnus Carlsen match for the 3rd and 4th place, Magnus has won 2.5, 1.5. And so tomorrow Ding has to try and strike back to enforce a tiebreaker.
What do you think, BD? Like, is Aronian going through and winning it all, or will you place your bets on the underdog?
I just hope, whatever the result is tomorrow, it's more neck to neck, more fight. Like, the fight we saw in Aronian versus Magnus or Wesley versus Magnus, that match was like really full of meat. But today, maybe I didn't watch it that closely. That's why I felt it lacked a little bit of that energy, which is natural because tonight has been going on for so long. So I just feel like if the match gets that, as a spectator, you want that, more tough fight. But I completely understand, not all days are same. So
on the other hand, Artemiev actually lost the first match against Ding as well, and he came back on the second day to force tie breaks and won the tie breaks. So you can't really completely rule him out on that. He's been a fighter already in this tournament. So coming to the point you mentioned about the schedule, I think there was some distraction at that point. You were talking about the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour, how grueling it gets, and you were suggesting maybe some changes in the schedule, right? And would you like to complete your point?
I mean, I was not talking about Champions Chess Tour because I only played 3 days, to be honest. So I can't really tell about this tournament. But in general, I always felt that there are hardly any rest days in chess world. Let's say, for example, even World Cup, if you play 1 month long and there is no rest days, like only before the final, maybe you have one rest day, something like this, which is insane, no? if you look at it. Like,
I
in any other sport, I have not seen like this. Like every day they have to prepare. Like in chess also, the thing is we prepare a lot before the games. So that energy is also required, and the mental energy and that stuff. So I feel, yeah, I think you would find more fighting games if there were more rest days. I feel. Maybe. At least we should try it.
True,
very,
true.
very valid.
Although think at the elite level, the World Cup and the Champion Chess Tour, I think they are some kind of outliers. No, usually there are rest days in elite level after about 2 or 3 games in a row. The World Cup does not have any rest, does not have much rest, and the Champion Chess Tour either. But I think they're exceptions, right?
No. I think many top level tournaments. Like I played this Prague Chess Festival, for example. Amazing tournament. But I think there is one rest day, if I'm not wrong. I don't remember. But few tournaments have 2 rest days, but mostly there is one at most. After, like, if it's a 9 round tournament, after 4 or 5 rounds, they have one. Something like this.
Yeah, I think maybe Tata
Right.
Steel is an exception, and they had 3 rest days at some point, but I think even now they reduced it to 2. They also reduced it to 2, right?
Yeah, I think they
No,
have
it's
3. Yeah,
three,
you're
three.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, they are the
But
only
it's
ones
also
who have 3 rest days.
right.
Sorry,
Right.
yes. What were
No,
you
it's a
saying?
13 round event and very long. And the time control is also very long. So each game there lasts on one
7
game at
hours.
least lasts for 5.5, 6 hours. At least one game.
Yeah.
All right. So do we wrap up? I think, or do you want to check out some tweets?
Soumya, maybe you try to start telling your story, and at that time the producer ends the stream. I think that would be a fantastic. And you were having a one sad story yesterday, so please start it, and then we end the stream. Let's go.
Like, I have, this is dedicated to just a famous guy who has become famous by telling his ex's sad stories. And my request to the producer that he will cut the stream at the right moment, otherwise this will become the most epic mini clip of my life. So, uh, people have been, ditched, or ghosting भी आजकल बहुत जमाना है. People have been friend zoned. But have you ever been? What? Nobody's
Stream
coming.
is going on. Stream is going on.
I don't want to complete the story, guys. Like, can we stop the stream?
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Have you ever been what? Like, answer
Have
in
you
the
ever
chat
been?
later on.
We'll continue this tomorrow on episode 2 of Soumya's stories.
I'm not sure if there is going to be an episode 2, but we'll see. You never know. Maybe I'll complete the story. So, catch us tomorrow.
Stories with Soumya, that sounds good, no?
My first stream with VD was story time with Soumya already. Producer is not here, I think.